welcome to the Tuesday, October 17th meeting of the Greensboro City Council. We are going to start this meeting with a closed session. Mrs. Abuzawaiter, would you read the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the City Council adjourn to a closed session to establish the amount of compensation and other material terms of employment contract and to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, and conditions of employment of a public employee.
So that's been motioned and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. We will return by 5:30.
The Greensboro Aquatic Center was built on community support. It runs on amazing staff and amazing volunteers.
But today, we're here to recognize the second annual Learn to Swim Volunteer Service Award. This award is named in honor of T. Diane Bellamy Small, Guilford Board of Education member and Greensboro Aquatic Center volunteer. The award is to honor someone that has provided the support and the commitment and the dedicated service to our Learn to Swim program. Today I'm honored to announce that Mike Leonard is the recipient of the second annual T. Diane Bellamy Small Learn to Swim Service Award.
On behalf of our family, we'd like to thank everyone for being here. This is such an honor for our family to be standing up here. We want to especially thank the Learn to Swim organization, including Mr. Brown, Ms. Brayman, Mr. Beard, Mr. Oliver, Ms. Rachel, everybody involved. Through the enthusiasm, the care, and the stories that were told at Starmount back in May, your passion for this organization is truly contagious. As most of you may know, my dad was Greensboro through and through. This is the place where he raised his family and the place that he grew up. He couldn't go to the store or restaurant or anywhere without seeing 10 people he knew, and this was truly his home. Besides my mom, the water was his true love. Whether it was at the lake, swimming laps with his very great friend John Riley, or teaching kids how to swim, the water was where he was happiest.
A long-time Greensboro Aquatic Center Learn to Swim program volunteer, Mike, passed away in 2022. In his honor, the Friends of the Mike Leonard Fund was created. Contributions to the Friends of the Mike Leonard Fund have raised $75,885 for the program's Learn to Swim for Guilford County Schools.
Our family is all in on continuing to support this unbelievable program.
For anyone who has not seen a lesson and the tremendous enthusiasm generated by both the instructors and the students involved, I want you to take a look at this video, please.
RB3 is 7 years old, about to turn 8 this year. He's a great student. Right now he's loving the swimming. He's very active, very outgoing, always willing to help. He loves the water. He loves the race. So. You can do anything. Anything is possible.
The Learn to Swim program is an example of what we can do when we can put differences aside and come around a common good. And this city is really, really good at that and has been for some time. Since it started 12 years ago, community support has allowed us to grow from just a few hundred students to now thousands of students from 46 different schools. These are students who are now not only safer around the water, but they also have another way to be physically active and have a healthy lifestyle because they know how to swim.
The whole success of the Greensboro Aquatic Center has totally exceeded the expectations we ever thought would happen. And it's programs like this, the Learn to Swim program, that is not only wonderful for our community, but it also makes our community safer.
And though we won't be able to teach his grandkids how to swim, I know he'd be extremely proud to know that one of his many legacies will be being a big part in helping every kid in Greensboro learn to swim. I know he has a big smile on his face knowing that right now.
You know, Learn to Swim couldn't be one of the most important things we've ever accomplished here at the Greensboro Coliseum Complex and for the city of Greensboro.
Greensboro has a lot of special people just like Mike who can change a child's life by helping teach them to swim. Find out more about volunteering, donating, and the program by going to greensboroaquaticcenter.com. There's a new way to get around downtown Greensboro. The Hopper Trolley is rolling on the streets. Glenn, what is the history of trolleys or streetcars in Greensboro?
So the earliest streetcar we know about, Rosemary, was in 1892 when the first horse-drawn or mule-drawn streetcars were operating around small routes up and down South Elm Street.
Okay, but then in the 1900s that changed.
Yeah, it expanded around starting in 1902. They actually installed electrical lines, right? So these are streetcars that are operating with overhead power. And they grew out from downtown and started expanding out to the suburbs, Lindley Park, out Summit Avenue, out all the way to the mill villages in White Oak and proximity.
So it was really how people were getting around.
Yeah, it was really trying to expand this idea of what was Greensboro, right? I mean, we're a very centralized city with this kind of strong spine that runs along South Elm Street. But there were entrepreneurs like J. Van Lindley who was like, bring people out further out west to Lindley Park. And they actually, one of my favorite things is they built an amusement park out of the original Lindley Park. There was a draw. That was the streetcar company ran the amusement park to bring people out, Spring Garden Street, all the way to where they had a lake and a casino and ballroom dancing and all sorts of wonderful things that went on in Lindley Park.
So why did they go away?
Why did they go away? That's a good question. I think in some ways they were a victim of their own success, right? Because they stretched out Greensboro into these neighborhoods and, miles from the core of downtown, and people were able to build houses. And then automobile culture, right, comes along. We've got great streets, and it supposedly took about 2.5 hours to ride the streetcar from Lindley Park to downtown. Yeah, you could almost walk as fast, right? So it was, at that point when people were able to have more and more of their own cars, shopping centers are growing up on Summit Avenue and other places. I think the demand was really decreased. But originally, in the early 1900s, we read numbers that show remarkable numbers of ridership.
And really, that's what we're hoping is going to happen now. So they're back as of 2023 in downtown Greensboro, and the idea is to see fewer cars in downtown and more trolleys and more people walking.
I think it's great, and it reconnects people with history too, right? Because it's a way that people can really easily and without any cost to themselves and conveniently, because these things are coming right every 5-7 minutes, to be able to go up and down and learn about the history of Greensboro, as well as see fantastic places like the Greensboro History Museum or the International Civil Rights Center and Museum, Blandwood, the Children's Museum, all these great attractions, the parks, the restaurants, all this wonderful stuff that's in downtown Greensboro.
Yeah, you work in downtown Greensboro at the History Museum, of course. So how do you see yourself using it?
I'm certainly going to hop on when I need to get down to South Elm Street. If I'm going to go for a bite down there, or it's just a really hot day. It's it could be a lot of fun just riding around and going up to if I need to get to the Hoppers game right at the end of the day on a Thursday, right? I can leave my car at work and just ride right over there to the stadium.
And let's talk about the name really quickly, the Hopper. Most people think, that must be after the Greensboro Grasshoppers because that's our baseball team, but it actually has a deeper history and meaning in Greensboro.
Yeah, the Grasshopper was a particular kind of cannon that the Continental Army used at the Battle of Guilford Courthouse in 1781. So, as a lot of people know, it was a battle that the American forces lost, but General Greene's forces did enough damage to Cornwallis that he was limping around by the end, and by the time he got to Yorktown, George Washington was ready to take care of him, and it was really the end of a culmination of the end of the American Revolution.
I always learned that it was where we lost the battle but won the war.
That's what I hear too. So, and our friends at the National Military Park out there at Guilford Courthouse can show you all that fantastic stuff too.
All right, so Haley, why did you jump on the Hopper?
I was walking down the street and I saw the QR code for the trolley, and I thought, why not just try to ride the trolley? And I've never been to the city, so I decided it was a good way to kind of take a lap around.
You're from where?
Tampa, Florida.
And what brings you here?
I'm a flight attendant. I'm on a layover.
So what's it like being the very first passenger on the new Hopper trolley?
It's awesome. The city's great. Everyone's so welcoming, and it's fun.
Well, welcome to Greensboro. We hope you come back and tell your passengers.
I will. Let them know. Thank you.
Want to hop on? Look for these signs around Elm Street in downtown Greensboro. There are about 14 stops between Fisher Avenue and just south of Gate City Boulevard. The Hopper trolley operates Thursdays through Sunday. You can pick it up about every 7 minutes. And hey, the best part about it, it's totally free. Find out more about it by going to greensboro-nc.gov and search trolley. Flavor and fun go hand in hand at the Rockin' Moroccan food truck. The couple behind this innovative concept wanted to bring the flavors of Morocco right here to Greensboro. They've done it. You can find them at rockinmoroccan.com. And if you see the truck on the road, it's time for a pit stop.
Actually, I came from a big family of 8 children. We are 10 of us at the house. So we always have cooking, my mom cooking in a small kitchen, and you would not believe what that comes from that kitchen. We grew up with different culture, like in there, like for my mom and my grandpa. And most of the time we grew up like cooking Moroccan. I left home when I was 17. I went to Europe and I learned more actually in there. And I've been in Holland, I've been in Italy, and I took from a little bit from every culture I've been. When I came in here, I came actually as a vacation. When I met my handsome husband, he is a foodie. He loves to eat. Let me tell you this. So he was the easy person to try everything I want on him. I cooked Italian, I cook Moroccan, I cook Asian, whatever you like, I would love to do it. But Moroccan is my background. It's my homeland.
So the concept for Moroccan was authentic Moroccan. So we have our, we want to do something no one had, like you said, lamb shanks, saffron chicken. We bring our spices in from Morocco, keftas, whatnot. But then what we did was we also wanted to play on a fusion, stuff that everyone knows, everyone's familiar with. So she put her own twist on it from all her experience. And that's why you have authentic Moroccan food, then you have our play on other food. But at the end of the day, the base
it has
is all
my
Moroccan.
twist. Yes, it has Moroccan. Even like, let's say we serve burgers, we serve cheesesteaks, and those, they have Moroccan twist on those.
Yes.
So it's something new for everybody, and everybody loves to try everything new. Oh, all of them, they're good. So I'm like spoiled in there. The lamb shank, it looks like most people, they love it.
But
Our
what's
zafran,
your favorite one?
mine?
Yeah, your favorite one, my love.
I'm a foodie too, so the everything platter, because it has a little bit of everything, let's say that. So that it'll take you from a little bit from everything. Lamb shank is our most seller. Zafran platter it is as well, but everything, most people, they love it because they can try a little bit from everything as well. Let me tell you, he came up with the name, okay? Well, he loves rapping and he loves rhyming. And we were like, Moroccan. He goes, we're gonna rock it. And he goes like, Moroccan. And he was like, oh my God.
She's amazing. I'm like, she's rocking everything she does. I'm like, we want a name that's gonna be catchy, something that people are gonna remember.
And we had it, like, we have people, they're like honking and us, this is catchy name. And it just sticks with you. Moroccan, it just sticks with you. Most people, they ask us what it's like, because it's something new to everybody. So what is it like close to? What is it? So we always say it's a little bit like a Greek, but it's nothing like it. It's nothing spicy, but it's full of rich.
Flavor, yeah.
And when people, they're not sure, they take, like I said, like something, the everything platter.
Sampler, yeah.
Yeah, and when they try it, then they know what it is. And it just makes me feel that I'm doing something right. And we love our customers. I love you guys. I love all of you guys.
Absolutely.
You're probably familiar with the Discovery House at the Greensboro Science Center. Well, it's going to be going away soon, but don't fret. Something bigger and better is coming. It's a biodome, and it's going to house some amazing plants and animals. Jessica, we're sitting in front of some plants we haven't seen around here much.
Oh, this is actually, we're starting to stockpile some of our more tropical plants. So this is just the beginning phases of our biodome, which is going to be a more tropical oasis. So we have to start collecting our tropical plants.
Okay, so tell us about this biodome. Where's it going to be? What's going to be in it? What's the point?
Well, the point is we just want to bring a new, exciting, never-seen-before exhibit to the Science Center. So our biodome concept is our latest foray into that. And it's potentially going to be our biggest, most impressive build yet. So it's going to be an entire indoor tropical oasis. And we're going to have about 6, maybe 7 kind of exhibits within that. That are going to be different species and things that we're still working through. And then in the open public space, we're also going to have free-flying birds. We're going to maybe have some bats. And then we're going to have a sloth, maybe more.
The sloth, or a sloth, is already here at the Greensboro Science Center. You can already visit with her, right?
Yes, we can. So we've kind of joked that it actually takes a long time to get a sloth. So, they're slow for everything. So we actually had already been on a wait list trying to get one actually for the last 3 years, because we had wanted to have one originally in our aquarium space. And so we finally got the one that was placed for us, and so we weren't going to turn it down and wait at this point. So we're like, we're going to take it, we're ready, and then we'll just move her to the biodome when that's ready.
Her name is Indy, and she came from not too far away.
Nope. So she was born at the Brevard Zoo, and she's just a little bit over 2 years old, so she's still young, and hopefully will be with us a long time.
Okay, and we get to see her eating sometimes, and she moves a little bit quicker than people might think she would move.
They can. When they decide to get up and be active, she's actually really curious. She likes to explore her environment. We know that they do go swimming. We haven't seen that with her particularly, but when we've had other sloths in other places, you'll see them wet. Like, you know, they do enjoy swimming, so they go down on the ground. They can do some really interesting things.
What's most interesting to you about the sloth?
Probably just their whole system for eating. They have a really weird, like, metabolism. It's really slow, you know, so, like, how we process foods and eat, you know, is so different for them. And they eat really interesting things. So they're just very, almost prehistoric in a way. You know, like, they're very ancient with some of their biological systems.
Very beautiful. She's a two-toed sloth, is that right? Yep. And there are also three-toed sloths. Can you tell us the difference other than the toes?
That's the big one, is the two-toed. Similarly, you know, they're body-wise, they look pretty similar. I do believe the lines, which is the two-toed, is bigger, a little bit more robust than three-toeds are also called Hoffmans, which is my last name, but didn't get the Hoffmans. But so I think body size is another indicator.
They have those faces that just draw you in. I mean, they really do. It's just the personality all over them.
Yeah. Oh, my God. And she's got such an engaging personality already, so we're really excited. We do hope to have sloth encounter programs when we do have the biodome set up. We're going to build to have it be really public friendly, and so she's going to be a great candidate for that when we're ready to go with those programs.
Oh, we can tell by just watching her eat for sure. And you can see her right now in the aquarium space at the Greensboro Science Center.
So we have our original Amazon exhibit that is in the aquarium that was part of our original build. We do hope to move basically that entire kind of exhibit. We're building this big new tropical oasis. Of course we want to put Amazon in there. So we hope to actually move all of those animals into that new space. And so she would definitely be a part of that. But it was just a perfect natural exhibit for her to live in right now. So she's with our titi monkeys and our tamarins and our Amazon fish and our freshwater rays. So it's a really nice space for her to kind of hang out for a couple of years.
Yeah, to get used to things, to get the lay of the land, and she'll be like the old mom when everybody else comes into the new biodome. So we can hear a little bit of construction happening and moving. We're gonna, as we visit the Science Center, we're gonna see dirt moving, things coming down, things going up. Can you tell us where we should look out and where we can watch it grow?
So if you're familiar with our outside zoo, as soon as you come out the doors that are take you right into that entrance to the zoo, there's that plaza. Really starting from that entry plaza and then working your way to the right where it was our building called Discovery House where we had small animals. That's the whole site that's going to be demolished for the new biodome build. So we've already made some movements. Our Nile crocodile, we actually already had to move out because it's going to impact the exhibit that was his. So that's going to get displaced pretty soon. But then we're going to start doing demolition throughout there. We're going to put up construction fences. We're going to start moving dirt, and we're going to start building.
And when do we think this might be a place to visit? I know the $1 million question.
That is the $1 million question. I think realistically we're looking at, kind of from this point right now about a 2-year build maybe. So that's sort of, ideally sooner the better, but probably getting really into starting demolition and construction maybe at the very start of next year.
There is always something new to see at the Greensboro Science Center. You can visit Indy 7 days a week at the Greensboro Science Center. Find out more by going to greensboroscience.org. Welcome to Gate City Insider. I'm Rosemary Plyben. Did you resolve to get healthier in 2023? Maybe you've considered your eating habits or exercise. Did you take your mental health into account? It is just as important, maybe even more so at times. And today we're going to talk about ways to make it a priority for yourself and for your family. Deborah Mack is Behavioral Health Director for Guilford County. Welcome.
Thank you.
So glad to have you with us.
I think when we talk about mental health, immediately people's minds kind of go to problems, right? But really mental health is just health, and we should be thinking that all the time, not just if maybe something is wrong.
Yes, exactly. So it's that wellness. And how do you find that balance to stay on that wellness scale? Like your emotions, how do you keep your emotions in that check to where you're not going sadness and then you go into a depression? So wellness is keeping that happy medium and finding that balance to balance your emotions, to balance the stress of life, to balance your finances. Even that can bring that stress into your life.
Particularly now. Yeah.
So wellness is really finding that medium, and how do we stay there and stay at that steady state?
Okay, so that is the question. So how do we make it a priority? What kinds of things can we do? Like, what are some good daily habits, really, to make sure we're taking care of that wellness?
Yeah, so one, finding someone to talk to when you need to talk. Two, setting a routine. Sometimes people think a routine is something that's boring, but routine is truly something that can keep you on track, and keep you moving in that right direction. And sometimes meditation, some people meditate. So there's a lot of different coping skills that we can develop and we can use that will help us manage our stress and manage our mental wellness. Eating right, drinking plenty of water, those things that also help that physical body also helps us mentally. So really learning how do we balance that? How do we balance the amount of stress that we take on? One thing I always say, one good thing about maintaining your mental wellness is knowing how to say no, knowing where to set some limits and set some boundaries. And sometimes we have difficulty doing it, especially with families. So one, taking in those physical things that help us, like water and nutrition. Two, knowing when to say no and knowing how to set your boundaries and how to kind of develop a routine that best fits you and your situation.
Yeah, let's talk about routine for a minute, because I think that's a really important one. I mean, we have a routine. I have children, and so it's a certain time we get up. We all do breakfast at a certain time, brush your teeth. We make our beds. For me, I know a lot of people do things like put their wallet in order, with their bills and things like that. What are some things that you use that are just simple, easy things?
Just simple routines is one thing. I set my clock 30 minutes early.
Okay. 30 minutes before you have to go.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. 30 minutes before I have to be there. And that allows for those interruptions, because interruptions may come, especially working in the mental health field. I like to set 30 minutes before an appointment because interruptions are going to come. So, preparing for those interruptions. So think about what amount of time you need to allow for interruptions and then add that time into it. And that way the interruptions don't stress you out so much. So that's one thing that I do. I kind of pad my time. I pad my routine with extra time.
Right, but you have to be careful that you don't say, oh, I've got that extra 30 minutes. I'm going to hit the snooze button 3 times.
Yes, because that is attractive at some mornings, especially on a rainy, cold morning like this.
Yeah, we've typically had a lot of these rainy, cold mornings recently. So we've been talking about wellness, but when is it time? How do you know you need to have a little checkup, or when you need to check in with somebody? Or should you just be doing that on the regular?
Yes. Someone to talk to on a regular is a really good thing. I think, mental health and seeking mental wellness and taking care of me used to be a little bit taboo.
Yeah.
But now it truly is not. There's truly more support around. I have a therapist, or I have a counselor. I have someone that I can talk to, because we all need that at times. Sometimes life brings us things that I could just use somebody else's opinion on how to handle this and what would be the best course of action for this. So when you find that those coping skills we talked about aren't working anymore, maybe you've hit that snooze button for the last 3 weeks and you've just laid in bed, you haven't used those coping skills of, padding that time. So now it may be time to look for some professional help. Like, can I seek out a therapist or a counselor that can give me some different coping skills from what I have? So there's no set time. I always say when stress of life interrupts your ability to live, love, laugh, then it's time to seek some help. It's time to look for someone that you can talk to.
Yeah, if you haven't laughed in a while, if you're listening or watching right now and thinking, but I don't know when the last time I laughed is. That's maybe a good signal to you that something's going on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What are some of the other, what are some, the red flags, though, that, it's really not time to wait. You need to go and find somebody, or you need to make that call now.
Yes. So if you are feeling unusually sad for like 2 weeks or more, then it's time to seek some help, because that may be going into depression. Or if your anxiety is so much for you, you're isolating yourself in the house. So when you start to feel hopeless, helpless, and isolating, those are the times when you feel like, oh, well, there's no hope for me in this situation. Then it's time to get some help. Or I can't see any light at the end of the tunnel, then it's time to seek help. So for every person, that time frame is going to be different. But when you notice that this is way out of the usual for me, or for family members saying, I'm noticing this and I'm noticing that, you have that support system, and they're around you to help you kind of stay in check. So those things, when you're noticing, if you can't notice it yourself, but you're hearing it from a lot of different people in a lot of different places, that stress is starting to show up. You can't get to work on time. You can't perform your job. You can't perform your daily routines. You can't get up out of bed and get the kids to school. So those things kind of start to affect your ability to live, love, and laugh. So really paying attention to that. And for each individual, it may be different when that time is, I may just need to rest a couple of more days and then I can get back on track. But if that doesn't happen, then it's time to seek some help to get back on track.
Yeah, and I like what you said, too, about, listening to those around you. If people are saying, you don't seem like yourself, or is everything okay, and you're hearing that over and over, that's another sign that, hey, even though I feel like maybe I'm okay, something has changed. Yeah, for sure. What services does Guilford County offer in the way of wellness and mental health?
Yes. So at the Guilford County Behavioral Health Center, there is a 24/7 walk-in urgent care. So when you think about urgent care for physical needs, this is an urgent care for mental health needs. So you can walk in if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling like you're in a crisis, if you're anxious, if you're looking for services, you can walk into the urgent care any time of the day or night, and it is open. Also at that center, we have a facility-based crisis for adults, which is a shorter length of stay. It's not quite inpatient, but you are there for 3 to 5 days at a time to kind of get a person stabilized and get them to that next level of care that they need, whether that be outpatient therapy, or it may be that you can't get that crisis stabilized in that time frame, so that person may need to elevate to an inpatient setting. So that service is there, and also outpatient services is there in that building. So you can get outpatient therapy, you can get medication management, you can attend groups, you can attend substance use groups and partial hospitalization groups.
All right, and also recently, just in the past 18 months or so, or a year, 988 came out. Tell us about that.
Yes. So 988 is that number that's easy to remember. When we think about 911, when it came out, now we have 988. So you can call 988 for emotional support. You can call 988 when you're in a crisis. And what that number does is it will connect you with the services in your community and refer you to the place that you need to go next. Or, like I said, if you just need someone to talk to. So 988, unlike 911, as kids we were told, don't you dial that number.
It better be an emergency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. In this case, it doesn't have to be an emergency. You can just need someone to talk to. And also with 988, you can text to that number also.
That's great, yeah.
Yes, because we know our young adults and our teenagers and adolescents, they like that texting. They would rather text than to make a phone call. So that option is there for them also.
And 988, can you use it also if you just want to support someone and you don't know how to do it? I want to say, I'm worried about Deborah, and what can I do? And they can help connect you. Is that right?
Yes, and they can even give you some ways and some key ways, because sometimes when we offer help, it's not always received. Yeah. And it may be the way we offer it. So they can talk you through, well, how do you offer that? And one good thing is you can always try to get the person, I'm seeing this. What are you noticing? So if you get them to notice those things in themselves, they're more likely to receive that help and not feel like, oh, you're pointing your finger at me.
Oh, yeah. Well, we talked about all these. Guilford County has so many great services to help, to keep, to stay in good mental health. And then if you find yourself that you need some support, there's this there as well. But people are still going to be nervous about it. I mean, there still is some nervousness around it if you've not talked to somebody before, if you've never been to outpatient or inpatient. Can you kind of tell us what those different steps look like, what they might feel like so people kind of get an idea?
The one thing I love about the new facility is when you walk in, it is truly a open, well-lit, beautiful facility to where it doesn't feel stigmatizing. And the staff, the Gifford County Behavioral Health Center is the clinical staff there is employed by Cone Health. So those people have worked in the mental health field for a very long time. And so they know how to be therapeutic. They know how to be not stigmatizing with a mental health issue. So the ability to walk into a place that is open and receiving is what makes the difference. And truly, they're there to say, we're here to help you and to guide you. We're not here to lock you behind these doors or lock you up or take away your rights. That stigmatizing piece of mental health is truly going away. And I think as a county and as a nation, we're starting to see that we cannot stigmatize people. You cannot make people feel bad because they have a mental illness, because it's just like any other illness.
Right. Yeah. So when you sit down to talk to somebody, what does that often sound like?
So it's really about, okay, tell me what's going on and how can we help? How can we help you get to those next steps? So, really hearing their story, hearing what's going on with them, putting them at the center of this, because any help that we give has to be the help that that person wants. So, really making that an option. And these are your options. So truly making people feel like you have a choice in this. Like this is not something that we're going to force you to do, but we're here to help you make a choice as to what works for you best and how this would fit into your life. Because, there used to be a fear, well, if I go to a mental health hospital, maybe they're going to keep me there. Then what about my kids? How do I do this? How do I get that taken care of? So it's really considering the whole person, their support systems, and really helping them to the next step that they need to take.
No one size fits all.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and Deborah, I think that, just having you here, hearing your voice, hearing how you respond, that's kind of what it's like. I mean, you have somebody that is like Deborah, who's going to have this voice, this understanding, this listening, and that's what you're there to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Any one piece of advice you'd want to leave people with?
I would say whenever you feel like you need some help, you should never be ashamed to ask for help. We all need help at some point in time. And, and Gifford County has put these services out here. It was built for the community. So the opportunity for the community to come and say, oh, hey, I can take advantage of this. So when you need help, ask.
Yeah, it's here for it. That's what it's for. Deborah, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Don't forget, once again, 988 is the number to connect you immediately to services close to you, close to your neighborhood, exactly what you need, help you through your next steps, or if you're talking to somebody, help you to talk to them through their next steps as well. Well, mental health doesn't start at 18, of course. Mental health care, I should say, doesn't start when someone turns 18. Children and adolescents need care just like adults. And when we come back, we're going to learn more about services available for young people right here in Guilford County. So stay with us. Welcome back to Gate City Insider. Today our focus is mental health care, caring for your mind and your emotions when life is good and when things maybe aren't so good. Just like adults, children need mental health care and need to know that their mental health matters. Ashley Sparks is Executive Director of the Youth and Adolescent Facility-Based Crisis Center, Alexander Youth Network. Hello and welcome.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you being here. Let's start with how and when should parents or caregivers start talking to their children about wellness and mental health?
Absolutely. This is a conversation that should start as early as possible and be had as often as possible with little kids, obviously in age-appropriate ways. I think the more that we can help kids identify their emotions, that will help them later in life when they're struggling because they'll know how they're feeling. It's also really important to get little kids to understand how their emotions impact their body and how they feel, because that will also help a lot later in life. So I think parents, you can model good behavior, talk about your mental health, obviously, again, in age-appropriate ways, but start those conversations and be the model for your kid and show them what wellness looks like.
So let's start like when they're real little. Like what are some good words and phrases and like opportunities maybe with, the toddlers and the youngest children just learning to talk?
Yeah, they have lots of little books and pictures where you can identify like I'm happy and you have a smile, or I'm sad and that makes you cry. A lot of kids, especially in this day and age, anxiety have stomach aches and things like that. So kind of connecting that it's not a physical illness, but actually something that their emotions are contributing to, even as a toddler, I think is really important.
And then, of course, once you get into school, school-age children, they start facing lots of other emotions and then dealing with other children.
Absolutely. And even in kindergarten nowadays, a lot of kindergarten teachers are incorporating mindfulness, so like being present in this moment with your body and the feelings. That's starting even in pre-K and kindergarten now. So teaching kids to be present with their emotions helps them be better and more social with their peers.
I read something just recently about, and I think we all do it, I know I did it with my kids, when they fall down and say, you're okay, you're okay. And that is really counterintuitive because they're not okay.
Right.
And they're hurt. And so then you're giving their mind mixed messages. So that you're okay thing is like, I want to suck it back in all the times I said it.
Right. Yeah, no, but acknowledging it's okay that you fell and you hurt yourself. It's okay to be upset about that,
Right.
I think.
I know it hurts.
Yeah, I know it hurts, but we can make it through. That kind of resiliency is what you want to build in your kids.
Yeah, really interesting. Okay, so what are some common issues that you see when wellness isn't being addressed as it should, or when things just get out of control for children and for teenagers?
Yeah, I think anxiety is a really big piece of the puzzle for adolescents right now. I think we've lost a year of socialization with the pandemic, and that is huge in terms of development. I think the APA even recently kind of backed down some developmental milestones for kids because of missing that year of socialization. So we are seeing a population of specifically teens that are more anxious, that are having a more difficult time kind of understanding their feelings. They're worrying a lot about the future and people that are around them. And then social media is kind of everywhere, and that causes a lot of identity issues, kind of self-esteem issues. So those are some of the biggest problems we're seeing kids face right now.
And what does that look like if you're in your child, that what you might not know to name it, or you might know that they're anxious, but what are the things that kind of it might show up as?
I think that we see kids that are very withdrawn. They tend to kind of go by themselves into their room, spend less time with their friends, spend less time with their family doing things that they enjoy. So that kind of withdrawn thing is what I would tell parents to look for.
And you mentioned with little kids, but even bigger kids, the stomach aches, headaches.
Exactly. Stomach aches, headaches, not wanting to go to school, just really having a loss of desire to do normal age-appropriate things or things that they once used to like doing. Those are kind of key indicators that something's going on.
Yeah. So how do you know when it's time to do more to get help?
I think if your child's behavior has changed in any kind of big ways where they don't want to be around people, they don't want to go to school, they don't want to do the things that they've enjoyed, that's usually a really big indicator for parents to be like, hey, do you want to go talk to somebody? And it doesn't have to be super intense in the levels of care like facility-based crisis provides, but you can start very small.
Right.
So that's what I would suggest.
Okay, so how do you start very small, though, especially as a parent?
Yeah.
And, if you ask them and they're like, no, I'm good. No, I don't want to.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine.
Well, I think it's really important to know that mental health care has exploded lately, and there's lots of ways that kids can connect with mental health care. It can be texting, like Deborah said earlier, through the 988, or you can do telehealth where kids can stay in their rooms on their computers, which are kind of comfortable places for them, and speak to a therapist. There are lots, and beyond 988, there are lots of other resources where kids can text or chat online, and talk that way. So I would always encourage parents to not give up, because there are so many different kinds of ways that mental health can reach your child. And even if you just start as a family practicing things like mindfulness, you can go on YouTube and Google mindfulness, and it'll have a 5-minute breathing exercise. And that kind of helps families center themselves and kids center themselves, so that they can kind of block out some of the noise and the chaos of what's going on and really focus on themselves and their wellness.
Yeah, I mean, that works. We do it at our house. When some of my kids will have trouble going to sleep, and we talk through kind of a meditation exercise. Okay, imagine you're on your beach, and can you hear the birds? Can you hear the ocean? And that really is calming for all of us. It puts me to sleep just about every time. I think what you're saying too is that, trust your spidey sense a little bit. Like, if you feel like something's wrong, don't give up.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, and mental health is something that even if something's not wrong and you seek help, it doesn't hurt anything.
Right.
So I think there's nothing to lose. And yes, I believe in parent spidey sense.
Absolutely. Okay, so what services are available in Guilford County for children and teens?
Absolutely. So Alexander Youth Network specifically has a full array of services. So it kind of starts in the outpatient world, where that's where you can have telehealth, kind of talk to somebody on a computer or go into an office. But if those things don't work, there are things called community-based services, and there are lots of different kinds of those. But that's where you have a team of mental health professionals that kind of come into your family and work with not just your child, but your family too. Because I think that's an important thing for parents to understand. Sometimes when a child has mental illness, parents have to change how they do things and how they respond to things. And so the goal is to always try to keep the child in the home, in the community, out of kind of facility settings. But if it gets too much and your child can't be safe in the home with their friends and with your family, there are options like facility-based crisis, where a child can come and stay until they can keep themselves safe back at home.
Okay, so talk through a little bit. I think there's probably a lot of questions wondering, if my child sees a therapist, talks to a therapist, how much of a window do I as a parent or caregiver have into that? What's allowed? What do I need to know? And where's that balance?
Yeah, so as a therapist, that is always one of the harder kind of balances to walk, because what the child and the therapist talk about is confidential and is private. I think it's really important to know that mental health workers will always loop parents in if it becomes something that's detrimentally impacting your child. I think there are a lot of ways to engage parents, and that mental health workers find a lot of ways to engage parents without betraying their child's confidence, but also saying, hey, so how does this work in the family? And kind of modifying things while still keeping the integrity of that confidential relationship, because it's really important for that child to feel confident that they can talk to someone and that it is private, and that they have that outlet. But it's equally as important to make parents aware of how things are impacting their child and things that they can change to make their child safe. So it's a balancing act, but I think that parents should trust that mental health workers will give them the information that they need.
I feel like I know the answer to this, but I know a lot of parents are going to say, how long? How long does this take? How long till I see improvements in my child? I want this to be better, Is there a schedule?
There really is not. And if I had any advice to give to any family that had a child that was struggling with mental illness, I would tell them that it's a slow process. Mental illness is something that will come back later in life too, as your life changes and as your experiences change. And what we try to do is give kids and families the tools necessary to kind of overcome the hurdles. And it is a very, very slow process. So I would again say, don't give up. If it's not working, absolutely talk to your treatment team about that. Like we said earlier, there are lots of different kinds of therapy. There are lots of different kinds of treatment. So I would encourage people to never give up, that there's always something else to try, and to just keep on pushing through.
Okay, we've talked about that there's so much more talk about mental health and wellness now than there ever was, but I think there is still some stigma. There's still nervousness. I think for a child to say to somebody, no, I don't want to do that. That's not me. I'm fine.
Right.
I don't want anybody to know that I'm doing this. And maybe even for the parent to admit that there's something going on with their child, and maybe I'm not a good parent, or I've done something wrong, or what are they going to say about me?
Right.
So how do we kind of improve that?
I think having transparent conversations with people, not just in your own family, but your friends, the people in your church, the people that you see regularly, having conversations about mental health is kind of how you reduce that stigma. When kids and families see that, oh my gosh, this is something that happens with lots of different kinds of people, they're more willing to engage in treatment and be transparent about it.
We were talking earlier with Deborah about the urgent care for adults. Is there such thing for children too?
So the urgent care for adults also serves children, but what Alexandria Youth Network provides is a child and adolescent facility-based crisis. So what we're doing is addressing acute, kind of in-the-moment safety concerns for children that can't keep themselves or other people around them safe. Ours is a little bit longer than the adult side because they're kids and it kind of sometimes takes more time. So we keep kids for an average of 12 days and really help them and give them coping skills so that when they return home, even if they have overwhelming feelings, it's less of a safety risk because we've given them skills to kind of combat that.
What do you want parents in watching most to understand about mental health care?
I want parents to know that it's not necessarily something that's gone wrong, because I think that's what a lot of parents feel. The world is really hard right now, and kids are feeling that just as much as adults are. So I think parents should know that there is hope always, that the first step in the journey is as important as the last, no matter how long it takes. So just take the leap into getting your kid help, because it will be worth it in the end.
Absolutely, and they will know. I mean, that you're on their side. It's just,
absolutely,
again, teaching them that they have this circle of people around them to hold them up and to lift them up and to pick them back up when they fall down. So, absolutely. Thank you. It's really appreciate it. I want to remind you about the mental health hotline. 988 is the number to call. If it's an emergency, if it's not an emergency, if you have a question, if you're worried about someone, if you want to talk to somebody, if you want to text to that number, 988 is a really easy way to do that, a really easy way to get connected to services in your community right away. It's just an easy thing to remember. And also, you can go to guilfordcountync.gov, just search mental health. It'll take you to their behavioral health page. You can find out more about all these services we've been talking about today. Really easy way to kind of get engaged, find out what's out there before you start making those phone calls, and so that you just know maybe where you can start with yourself, somebody you know, a friend or a loved one, and of course a child as well. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with us today. That is our time. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Inside the office building at 114 North Elm Street in downtown Greensboro, you'll find Zaytoon Mediterranean Grill. You'll come for the food. It's fresh, it's clean, it's organic, it's local, and you'll stay for the stories behind the food.
So I grew up in the Holy Land, so we are family oriented, meal is very important to us, So we gather and everybody around the table and we centered and we eat together and we chat and we lived in a very sustainable community, and everything comes from within very small distance, everything local, and everything is delicious. Since I'm health coach and I'm really health oriented about a lot of things, I try my best really to use the best ingredient to feed my customers, because that's how I eat and I want my customer to eat healthy. So it's we focus on food as medicine in general. Our restaurant started in 2000, actually. I came to America in 1989 to finish my master, but for some reason we couldn't go back, and I finished my master, but we stayed here. I had 3 children, so I have to do something, and I never knew how to cook really. You know, I went to college in Jordan University, finished my 4-year college, and you know how I lived college life and all of these kind of things. Went to Kuwait. I taught in Kuwait for many, many years, came in 1989, so we started going to the farmer market. There, the seeds of zaytun started, and then I become very health-oriented. I went to Duke, I finished my health coaching, and we started the restaurant. Well, zaytun means in Arabic, olives, and it's kind of universal language. We chose that because in Spanish as zaytun and Hebrew zitim, Arabic zaytun, so it's kind of everybody will understand it, so it's olives. Jaddara, which is the rice and lentil pilaf with caramelized onion, is really very famous. We've been doing it, I'm telling you, for almost 20 years. And people like it. First of all, it's vegetarian, vegan, it's kind of universal. For people who want it to be vegetarian, it will be served with tzatziki. If it is vegan, with no tzatziki, it's been in our culture for, I grew up eating it, and it's delicious, it's good. We like it. We eat it either with plain yogurt or with cucumber, which is the tzatziki. We eat it with the cucumber and dill and all of these kind of things, or with salad, fine chopped salad. Again, everything we used to eat local, you know, sustainable. So it's very famous back home and famous here, and people like it. The soup is called carrot lentil. It's one of the dishes we serve it here as zaytun. We use in our culture a lot of lentils because we grow it locally and people use it. So this carrot lentil soup, they used to do it traditionally from the rainwater. So rainwater, it's for some reason, it has different flavor. Specifically, they've done it this way. The molds, those we use them for ma'moul, and ma'moul, it has really very unique story because we use those molds around the celebration of after we, as a Palestinian, we have Muslim and Christian. So Muslim, they fast Ramadan and they celebrate, you know, after they break Ramadan, the Eid al-Fitr. So in that tradition, we use, you know, the ma'moul, and it's a dough. We make it and we mold it with those molds. And the Christian in Easter, the same thing they do. So it's very, you know, around that time of the celebration, traditionally long time ago, because it's a small communities, not very big and not many cars and stuff like this. So you were sitting in somewhere in your neighborhood, where in your house, and all the neighbors, they gather and they do, you know, the ma'moul, and all you hear is just like those molds, it's just like tick, tick, tick. They just like, you know, it's a very beautiful memory. Those molds, very specific, and it's really very unique. I look at food as food is very spiritual also. You know, if you put love into food and you serve it, people like it. I mean, feel it. So it's, we use pure ingredient, and people, you know, for many years they've been eating it and sensing it. So I take pride about our philosophy and about our cooking and all of these kind of things, you know, people sense and use and like. So we've been doing it for almost 20 years now.
Years ago, Greensboro City staff and council members moved into the Melvin Municipal Office Building, consolidating many departments all under one roof. We chatted with the man for whom City Hall is named about the building and the people who passed through these doors.
I'll bet you since I left, I haven't been in here 8 times.
A walk through City Hall with Jim Melvin is a walk through time. Are you flooded with memories?
Yes, mostly personal. Hazel Birch was the city clerk, wonderful woman. I used to call her the mother of the city. And then Nancy Peak. Nancy was such a wonderful person. She was the city clerk the rest of my term, which meant almost 10 years.
Mostly he remembers the people, men and women who worked by his side to shape Greensboro as we know it today. And he remembers where his passion for community all started.
My daddy, who ran a little one-horse service station down on South Greensboro on Ashburn Street, now Martin Luther King, he really kept trying to make Greensboro better, and I saw that.
He talks about his time with the JCs, where he learned how to serve and began to work closely with Greensboro city government.
Carson Bain, who was mayor at the time, and a great mayor, I might add, he decided we needed to build a governmental complex. That's the way it was sold. And they appointed a committee of 5 people.
Melvin was one of the 5 tasked with designing a building that could bring city services spread over several blocks at the time, all in one place.
But then we selected the architect, who was Catalano, world famous, and we told him that we wanted a state-of-the-art, modern, open office landscaping complex, and that's what he gave us.
What was kind of the idea behind that?
It improved communications, because if all of your associates are working in a complex where they can stand up and look over and ask you a question, that improves communications, and that's what we were all about.
You brought the outdoors in this building, and that's pretty unique.
We wanted that, a botanical garden, and that's what he gave us, and it has sustained, and it gives it an open freshness appeal rather than just a sterile office building where you got nothing but offices.
Staff moved into the building in the fall of 1972. By that time, Melvin was mayor.
You have to admit that when you come in here, you get the feeling that this is an organization that's trying to be in touch and be communicative and be open to the public. And that's what this building was all about.
As mayor, Melvin frequently appeared on TV and in newspaper articles sharing news about the city and kept his word to be open to the public.
Every month we'd have a different community meeting, and we'd take one city council person and I would go and meet in this area, and we would cause all the city department heads to go with us. And we made no speeches or anything. What's on your mind? You tell us and we'll try to see if we can get it fixed.
After 10 years as mayor, Melvin retired. How did your name get on this building?
Well, I had nothing to do with it. I was retiring in 81, November of 81. John Forbes was mayor. We had a retirement dinner, and they said, we're going to name the city hall after you. And I'll be truthful, I felt uncomfortable about this, because to me, this is the Greensboro City Hall, and it's not the Greensboro, whatever it is, Melvin, but I appreciate it.
He walked away from City Hall, but not the city.
Mr. Bryant, one day he said to me, he said, you know, I'm going to keep my eye on you because I don't want you to take the name off of Bryan Park and put it to somebody else.
Melvin and Joseph Bryan had a friendship built on a shared passion for making Greensboro great.
What we didn't see coming, I don't think as a community, was the loss of all of our major corporate entities, textile, tobacco. Burlington Industries was the largest textile company in the world. They had 3,000 people that worked out there in the World Headquarters Center, and it's now a shopping center. Well, you don't lose people like that, or firms like that not have a big impact.
With Bryan's help, he set out to make a positive economic impact on the area.
Bryan Boulevard was one of our priorities for years. And we finally got it built, and Mr. Bryan got to see the next to the last interchange. But look at what an asset that is to us now.
Melvin remained laser focused on creating jobs for Greensboro.
I always felt if you get somebody a good job, you've given them a chance to do it.
He believes Toyota is going to do just that.
10 years from now, they won't know who any of us are, but there'll be 10,000, 15,000 people working on this site with good quality jobs for one of the best corporations in the world. Now think about what a good feeling that is.
Melvin is excited to see the changes that project will bring to the area, and he has even more ideas.
Obviously, the Lord's going to retire me someday, but right now I got to finish the Toyota project. My new dream is at 1997, there was a builder going bankrupt across Lake Townsend, and there was a possibility of buying 525 acres out there. So the foundation bought it. And we paid $1.5 million for that. I would love to see the city soccer go back out there and put about 20 more fields on that site. We could become the amateur lacrosse soccer capital of the country.
Melvin doesn't find himself in the building that bears his name often, but it makes him proud when he does. Not because his name is over the door, but because the people inside share his passion for Greensboro.
Well, someday they'll probably scrape the name off this thing and put somebody else on it. But anyhow, I'm very proud of it.
What would you like your legacy to be?
That I cared about the city. And that's important.
We are all aware of the importance of water and how it moves. From the highest points of land, it moves downstream, through streams and rivers, eventually making its way to the sea. Cities like ours collect and treat this resource so it can be used safely by all residents. But this water does not belong to us alone. Once it's been used, it's collected again, treated, and released back into those same rivers and streams, which take it downstream to our neighbors and other towns and cities who depend on it just as much as we do. The City of Greensboro Water Resources collects and treats as much as 11.9 billion gallons per year. Take a moment to think about how you use water daily. When we take showers, we use soap, shampoo, and other products. When we wash dishes and our clothes, we use detergent. Most of what we use water for at home, aside from drinking and cooking, require that we add some product to it. Any personal care products, cosmetics, hair treatment, things that you wash off, all end up in the wastewater that is treated and sent to our neighbors, who use the water for the very same things. It's important that we consider the safety of our downstream neighbors as we use water in our city. By being aware of the types of products we are using, we can avoid the buildup of harmful byproducts. For example, 1,4-dioxane, which is a byproduct of a manufacturing process called ethoxylation, is found in many common household products. This organic chemical is one of many found in trace quantities in both ground and surface waters throughout the U.S. Uses and sources of 1,4-dioxane include industrial solvent stabilizer found in paint strippers, varnishes, soaps, makeup and personal care products, antifreeze, etc. It also exists as an unintended byproduct in manufacturing and recycling of certain plastic and polyester products. Because 1,4-dioxane is a byproduct of the manufacturing process, it's not listed on the label of household products. Read the label of any product that generates suds. Try to avoid chemicals ending in ETH, for example, sodium lauryl sulfate, as well as products that have chemicals ending in oxanol and PEG. Often these chemicals are found in things like laundry detergents, shower gels, and personal care products that create suds. Paints, dyes, waxes, and grease can also contain these chemicals. You can look for unfragranced Castile soaps, or wording like USDA organic and made safe as alternatives. For more information about these alternative products, you can visit the Environmental Protection Agency website at www.epa.gov/saferchoice/products. The City of Greensboro's Water Resources Department has been investigating sources of 1,4-dioxane within the city's sewer collection and wastewater treatment facilities since 2015. Considerable progress has been made, and the department continues to work proactively with local industries through the Industrial Pretreatment Program. Greensboro has a long and strong working relationship with NCDEQ and appreciates its guidance and assistance in our efforts. Through these partnerships, the city fully commits to developing a management strategy to further reduce the release of 1,4-dioxane into waterways that may potentially impact downstream communities who rely on the Hall River and Cape Fear River for their source water. For more information, please visit the City of Greensboro's Water Resources Department online at greensboro-nc.gov/water.
Welcome to this latest installment of Greensboro Business Profiles. I'm your host, Carla Banks. Join me as I feature a variety of business owners who choose to call Greensboro their home. It goes without saying, the small business community is critical to our local economy. Greensboro Business Profiles highlights their services and celebrates their contributions. Let's meet today's profile.
My motivation for branching out and starting my own private practice was a result of me wanting to be able to show up in this field of mental health authentically. I was able to start my therapy career with a local agency, Peculiar Counseling. Absolutely loved them. They taught me everything, taught me a lot of what I know now. And so just being able to see the effect that I had and knowing how much of a leader I am, I wanted to be able to see, if this could be possible. And it has been thus far, and just being able to show up in both of my passions of social work, therapy, and fashion, and being able to make that all live in one place. Theranista is therapist and fashionista put together. So a couple years ago in 2018, I started a fashion styling company, and it was originally called Fetch Fashions because I was obsessed with the term fetch. And I am very much so a girl's girl. I love to dress up. I love to have all of the razzle dazzle. And so I enjoyed at the time styling people. So I was styling photo shoots, local business brands, just all types of ventures I had gotten into. And so I was like, okay, I was also a therapist at the same time. So I was like, okay, how can I make this live in one place? I was like, it just came to me. I was like, Theranista. I was like, I can make this work. I can really make this work. And so ultimately the business is Theranista Wellness, helping you look as good as you feel and feel as good as you look. Being able to speak this message of you can't just work on the outer without working on the inner, and vice versa. Like, we have to be able to become our whole best self and how we present to the world from an internal and external perspective. They love being able to come into a safe space that I've created, because ultimately when I show up in the consultations, I like to call them a vibe check. Like, this is where we meet and greet, because I'm very big on people finding their therapist, especially for men. When men go into therapy, they know the type of therapist that they desire. So they know if they would like to see an African-American female, they know if they would like to see a Caucasian female, they know if they would like to see a man, Caucasian or African-American. Men know what they want going into therapy. So me being myself does not bother them. And I made sure in my marketing, in my overall aesthetic, that it wasn't too girly, because I did want to attract men. I want to attract all people to be able to come in and seek wellness. I really enjoy being able to teach my clients skills, because they have a running joke, and they don't even know it with amongst everyone, where they say, I make life seem so simple within the green walls. And I tell them it is that simple. When you all take the skills that we discuss in here and you apply it in your real life situations, life is really that simple. And they come back and they're like, so I did what you told me to do and it worked. And I'm like, I know, yay. So it's me being able to teach them the necessary skills because they don't have a therapist in their pocket. So I tell them I can't go down into Thumbelina form and be with you all over the place. That's not the thing. But here are some skills, right? Skills to deal with anxiety, skills to deal with depression, skills to be able to improve your overall gratefulness in life. And so those are some of the things that we discussed, just going over life's transitions and life's problems, because they're there. But one of the things that I tell them is that when you come to therapy, we're dealing with all of life, right? So the good thing is if you start therapy and we're dealing with everything that has happened before today, when life happens tomorrow, it's not as heavy because you don't have yesterday's stuff and what's in front of you stuff. You're just dealing with what's in front of you. And it makes life a little bit easier, a little bit manageable. One of the things I tell especially my teenagers, is that because there is this unfortunate pattern of self-harm behaviors, of cutting and just doing various things. And so usually I get teenagers that don't like talking to their parents, and I'm like, okay, that's fine if you don't want to talk to them, but you have to talk to me. We have to be able to create that trust bond in here so that I can make sure that you are safe. And I tell them, I said, there are certain things I got to check in with your parent. You're a minor. We just can't be in here talking and what your parents don't know. I said, so how about we create a plan? We're going to talk about what I'm going to talk to them about. But if at any moment you are a danger to yourself or somebody else, I have to let them know. And they're like, okay, I will let you know when I'm feeling as though I want to harm myself or I'm feeling as though I want to harm somebody else. And I ask them straight on. I don't sugarcoat anything. I say the necessary words because that's an effective therapist. We don't hide from the word suicide. We don't hide from the word self-harm, cutting, those various things. Are you doing these things? And what does this look like? What are the triggers, right? And what is our safety plan going to look like? How much life do you still want to live? And so I ask those direct questions, and that's how we get great results. This has become my home. I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida, and I came up here for college. And so in my trying to figure out where I was going to, start my adulting life, my mother made it very clear, you cannot come back. So you need to figure it out up there because you can't come back. This is not where you're supposed to be. And I said, okay. I said, well, I'll figure it out. And so I ended up coming back to Greensboro. I tell everybody, don't ever burn bridges, because I ended up being offered a job from my internship from my senior year in my undergrad. And I had always maintained that relationship while in grad school. And I came back here and I had created a village here. And so my godmother, I asked her, I said, hey, I'm coming back. Can I come stay with you for a while? She said, yeah. So that's where this is how I started. I loved being able to come back to Greensboro. Greensboro has been great to me. I mean, even my alma mater, A&T, I absolutely love them. I give them so much credit, and just the city overall has been so good to me. And so being able to start my business here and give back to the very place that gave me so much has been awesome. So everybody can reach me at www.theranistawellness.com. That is THERANISTA wellness.com. All of my social media handles are at Theranista, at THERANISTA. And you can also look me up by my name, Alicia Williams.
I hope you enjoyed meeting today's business profile. If you are a business owner who would like to be featured, or you want to nominate someone for Greensboro Business Profiles, send me an email. I look forward to hearing from you and spotlighting our next business profile.
Hello, I'm a Starship delivery robot. And this Starship delivery robot is one of 50 roaming North Carolina A&T's campus, delivering food to hungry scholars. So, Jesse, what is Starship?
Well, Starship is a delivery service. We mostly work with campuses here in the U.S., and basically we just take food from our vendors, like Pavo's here, and deliver it to our customers on campus, the students, the staff, the faculty, and it's meant to be very convenient, very cost-effective, and so far it's been very well received.
So how does it work?
Well, you download the app, and you have a selection of merchants on that app. You tell the robot where to go after you've placed your order, and the robot comes straight to you. You unlock it with your phone, go about your day.
Okay, so explain exactly how it works. The student does the order on the phone, and then what happens?
Yep, so all of our restaurants are on the app, and they will go to, let's say, for instance, Starbucks. They'll go in, they'll order what they want. That order goes to the back of the house in that restaurant. We fulfill it, and then we have more or less a cell phone. We take it out to the robot. We drop the order in. There's a barcode that's on the robot. We scan it with that phone. It'll lock the lid, and then it goes off to where it was ordered from. Once the student gets it, or anyone on our campus, they have a barcode on their cell phone. They scan the robot, it unlocks, they take their order out, and the robot's on its way.
And back to fulfill another order.
Back for another order.
Okay, so how has it been working?
Oh my God, they love it. We love it. It's been great. Students are using, some students are doing like 2 and 3 orders in the same day. Faculty and staff are not leaving their office for lunch. They're using the robots to do orders. So it's been very popular. They love it. There's no delivery fee. There's no transaction fees or so it's just whatever the purchase they make, that's all they pay, and it's very convenient.
Have you used it?
Absolutely, yes.
Now, Starship, North Carolina A&T, and the City of Greensboro are working together to expand deliveries to students living off campus.
So tell me how you started to work with A&T and Starship.
Starship contacted us for the ability for the robots to cross Lindsay and Sullivan. So we looked at that, and that intersection has PED signals, and it's only activated by PED push buttons. But Starship they informed us that if the PED signal would come up, that the robot could cross the street. So we done some pre-programming on our controllers and allowed the PED signal to come up every cycle so that the robots would have a chance to cross.
So the robots can actually see the walk signal.
Correct.
That is pretty cool. For them to first be on campus and now to be expanding outside of campus, what is that like?
Oh my gosh, with the expansion, you just don't know how much excitement that has brought to our students living in the apartments with at the Aggie Point. They are looking forward to it because one of the things the students say, okay, if you're on campus, you get more advantages and you have more opportunities for things. So what we're doing is bringing it to them, and they're going to enjoy it. They're going to love it.
Had you ever done anything like this before?
No, this was the first time we've ever had a request like this. So it's pretty cool.
So what is it like to see robots wandering the streets of Greensboro?
Well, just out here on the campus, it's pretty wild and pretty neat. But I've seen them make a couple deliveries here standing so far, so it's pretty neat.
Starship is saying, this is the future. We're only going to see more things like this. Do you see it inspiring students here who may be thinking about a career that, and this could be a jumping off point for them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you talk about autonomous vehicles, you talk about engineering, you talk about transportation logistics, where it gives them that opportunity to start that mindset. Okay, how does it work, and learning all the ins and outs from ground roots about it. So I think that, yes, it will inspire students to to look at majoring or even finding opportunities to have job with a Starship company or a company of a similar style or so.
To expand outside of campus, I mean, this is just the small start to that. Can you envision a time where we might see them all over Greensboro?
Yes, I can. And Starship is, I think, working on a program to where it'll be like a Bluetooth connection from the robots to our controllers that will call the PED signals instead of us calling the PED signals every cycle.
Did you ever imagine that you would be having robots deliver your lunch when you first came to work here 20 years ago?
I am still pinching myself. I could not believe this. This is really amazing for us.
Would you order a pizza or a sandwich from a robot?
Yes, ma'am. I sure would.
Are you looking forward to being able to do that?
Yep. I hope we get it downtown at City Hall. That'd be neat.
Me too. That sounds fun. Yeah, what are we going to have first? Who's buying?
We can talk to the city manager about that.
Starship robots will start making off-campus deliveries in August of 2022, and in the future, you may see more of them expanding their footprint in Greensboro.
My name is Tristan Bailey, and I moved back from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
My name is Mary Beth Maddox, and I came back to Greensboro from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I work at Guilford County Parks. I'm the marketing and special events coordinator. I never imagined as a single young black woman that I'd be able to afford a home on my own. I use the City of Greensboro's first-time homebuyers program to purchase my first home. I have to live in the home for 5 years, and it's forgiven 100%.
Being a first-time homebuyer feels great. It really gives me a sense of independence, and I just enjoy really getting to put down roots here in Greensboro and also just making this place my own.
It feels great to be back in Greensboro. I went to college here at A&T about a decade ago, and so much has changed in Greensboro since I've been gone.
I'm the marketing services specialist at Biscuitville's Restaurant Support Center, and I also just love how diverse Greensboro is. There are so many people from different walks of life here, so I enjoy meeting people and hearing all the different stories.
I came back to Greensboro because I was looking for new opportunities, and I knew I could find them here.
return into open session. Moved by Mr. Holston, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. Dr. Wells will be in shortly. Welcome to the October 17th, 2023 meeting of the Greensboro City Council. We are in the Katie Dorsett Council Chamber. People wishing to speak must sign up by 6 p.m. by using the Q-Minder kiosk just outside the council door. See the courier for assistance. Let the record reflect that all members are in attendance. Please silence any electronic devices. If you must make or receive a phone call, kindly do so from outside the chamber. Speaking of which, we will begin tonight's meeting with a moment of silence, and there really are quite a few things that are weighing on my mind and I think other people's minds here in council. One certainly is the unrest that is going on in the Mideast between Israel and Gaza. If we could keep all of those people in our thoughts and prayers. Additionally, we have the sad milestone of exceeding our homicides this year already. And so if we could pray for peace. We can't police our way out of this. We need our community partners. If people see something, they need to say something. So if we could just take a moment to reflect. Thank you. Mrs. Abuzawader, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I meant to ask staff, our flags are at half staff outside?
Yes, and I can't remember why.
Why are they?
We'll get that answer to you.
Madam Mayor, I do believe it is in respect for what's happening over in the Mideast.
Okay. For what is going on in the okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Certainly. I think that's good to acknowledge.
The City of Greensboro is committed to promoting an environment that is free of discrimination, bias, and bullying. In order to maintain a safe space for all speakers, members of the audience, or speakers from the podium who intentionally disrupt the meeting or ridicule other speakers will be given a warning, and if unheeded, they will be removed from the meeting. That person will be suspended from in-person participation for 3 months. In order to preserve their right to free speech, they can attend virtually by Zoom, phone, or email. It is the goal of the City Council that this chamber is a welcoming space and that all our residents feel empowered to bring issues of concern before their elected officials. Speakers are allotted 3 minutes for comments on specific agenda items. The City of Greensboro is committed to promoting an environment that is free of discrimination, bias, and bullying. Zoom participants are requested to mute their microphones until they are called upon to speak. All meeting attendees are expected to respect speakers and council deliberations. People disrupting the meeting will be removed from the meeting. By statute, council members must vote on all items unless there is a direct financial interest or if they are sitting on the board of a nonprofit who is on the agenda to receive funding. All votes will be moved and seconded. The mayor will announce the vote total. We do have a consent agenda for items G1 through G14, which are a grouping of agenda items that are voted on with one single vote to expedite what are believed to be routine and non-controversial items. Any council member may withdraw an item from the consent agenda due to a conflict of interest or for the purpose of voting no. Items removed from the consent agenda for discussion will be placed on the November 21st City Council business agenda. This meeting does include closed captioning. Depending on the length of tonight's meeting, we may take a short recess around 7:30. Now is the time for our ceremonial and presentation items. Item E1 is a resolution declaring the month of October 2023 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do want to also thank all the staff and everyone in the room who is wearing purple this evening. I put a plea out to my council members, and every single one has on purple. Staff has on purple. That is the color to bring awareness to domestic violence. So I will now read the resolution. Whereas during National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we reaffirm our dedication to creating a culture of safety and hope in our community where no one suffers the hurt and hardship caused by domestic violence. And we recommit to do everything in our power to uphold the basic human right to live free from violence and abuse and recognize our shared responsibility in ending this pervasive problem. Whereas domestic violence impacts women, men, and children of every age, background, and belief, and is rooted in a pattern of power and control. Whereas physical marks and scars are often the most obvious signs of harm, however, the extent of the pain goes much deeper and can impact one's mental, physical, and financial health. Whereas the Guilford County Family Justice Center, FJC, is a beacon of light, coordinating essential services, including advocacy, law enforcement, and social, medical, and legal services. Whereas vulnerable children and older adults are impacted at higher levels, and it is essential that we participate and support innovation, collaboration like the FJC's Pathways and Camp Hope program for children, and also the FJC's Elder Justice Committee coordinated community response. Whereas in a community partnership, the FJC has successfully brought together 17 agencies in one place to provide victims with easier access to comprehensive resources. This diverse and unique partnership provides hope and healing to victims of abuse and also works diligently to hold offenders accountable. Whereas since the opening of the FJC in mid-June of 2015, over 75,000 residents have been served. And on average, an individual works with 5 different organizations when visiting the FJC for the first time. Whereas by working together, getting involved, and through promoting awareness, we can restore hope, stop the violence, and make our community safer for everyone. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Greensboro that it does hereby declare the month of October 2023 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urges residents to increase their awareness and education of this destructive force, which deeply affects many families in our state and local community each year, and to become part of the efforts to stop violence in families. I would like to move that, Madam Mayor.
Second. So moved by Mrs. Abuzawader, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Council, please vote.
And Madam Mayor, oh, I'm sorry.
That passes 9-0.
I also know several members of the Family Justice Center are in the room, and if they would like to come up, and Director Catherine Johnson, if you would like to say a few words, I will bring the resolution down.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Abuzawader, and the whole council. The purple looks great tonight. The Family Justice Center was established in 2015 as a homicide prevention initiative, and we started the meeting tonight talking about the homicides happening in our community. Tonight's proclamation highlights a lot of wonderful things: 75,000 served, a robust partnership, work in elder justice and child trauma. And we are thankful for the partners here tonight representing many of our partner agencies. I'm going to name them: Sergeant Dale Nix, Greensboro Police Department; Attorney Margaret Dudley with Elon Law; Survivor Brenda; Survivor Morgan with our Voices Committee; Lou Ann Wilkinson with Family Service of the Piedmont; Sergeant Tara Gilchrist with the Guilford County Sheriff's Office; DSS Supervisor Pam Bright; Executive Director Iris Sunshine with Children's Law Center; and Leland Winfield with the Kellen Foundation. So many, many partners who have teams and do this work daily, and our Survivor Committee who advises our work. I want to say just before COVID, the homicide rate for domestic violence in our community reduced 90% for domestic violence-related deaths. And while the FJC remained open during the COVID shutdown, the isolation families in our community were faced with meant that they suffered at home alone. What that also meant is that many people began to believe that resources were not available to them. And so our community needs to know we are here. Stats across our state are sounding an alarm that North Carolina is on pace to have a record-setting year for domestic violence homicides. And 2020 was a record for our community since I've been logging the statistics. And this year, 8 people have been killed by domestic violence in Greensboro. So the question I ask myself when I wake up and when I go to bed, and often throughout the day, is what do we need to do to get those who need us most through our doors? Safe homes equal safer community. But that takes all of us, because these partners are standing and ready. They have teams of people that are working hard at the Family Justice Center every day. We had nearly 60 walk through the door yesterday alone. And we know by national statistics, and the Family Justice Center Alliance says this, that 99% of people who come to a Family Justice Center, whether it's a child, adult, or an older adult experiencing violence and abuse, live. And that's because wraparound services, collaboration, and partners working together makes the difference. And that's what we're doing. We are ready. But we need the community to help us get those who need us to us. So thank you for this acknowledgement. Thank you for the work the council does and your support and leadership. And thank you for helping spread awareness about domestic violence and the life-saving resources that are available. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I am going to go off script a little bit. Dr. Wells asked if we could also recognize that this is the month for breast cancer awareness. So Dr. Wells is going to read a proclamation.
I'm putting on another hat. Good to see Margaret. Whereas educating our citizens about breast cancer and early detection strategies are crucial to saving lives, and whereas breast self-exams and mammograms are widely recognized as effective methods of detection, and whereas breast cancer affects thousands of individuals each year and is one of the most common types of cancer among women, and whereas the risk of breast cancer is tied to many uncontrollable factors, including gender, age, race, and family history, as well as controllable factors such as diet and lifestyle and age during first pregnancy. And whereas we encourage our citizens to join together to raise public awareness of the symptoms, prevention, and treatment of breast cancer. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Vaughn, Mayor of the City of Greensboro, do proclaim October Breast Cancer Awareness Month to Greensboro and commend this observance to our citizens. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Move the resolution.
Second.
So that was actually moved by Goldie and then seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. We don't have this on the screen, so all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes 9-0. And I want to say, Dr. Golder-Wales, I don't think I'm saying anything out of school, but this has a special meaning for you, Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yes, I am a breast cancer survivor, and it was in 2006, and I was serving on council, and it was broadcast in the newspaper that I had breast cancer, but I think I only missed one meeting. I was blessed. I was blessed. I didn't have to have chemo or radiation. So I'm just thankful. And those of you who, women, please check yourselves to make sure. Get those mammograms, self-exams, do all that you can, because it is common among us.
Thank you. Let's see, City Manager's report. Well, before we do the city manager's report, we're going to do an update on the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Max Sims is here to do a 5-minute presentation.
Mayor Vaughn, Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, and council members. My name is Max Sims, and I am here to give you a report from the Convention and Visitors Bureau as their chairman. Serving with me on that board is Councilwoman Hoffman and Councilwoman Thurm. We see each other monthly, and we discuss convention and visitor business. Also on that board is Skip Austin, who's chairman of the County Commissioners. And I want to talk about our economic impact. But in addition to that, I have to mention that we have great leadership of Henry Fourier as the president of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'd also like to tell you this, that many of you might know that only in 1995 was the Convention and Visitors Bureau established, both a partnership with the city and a partnership with the county. But it has brought tremendous success to Greensboro. As you see, the Greensboro, North Carolina, You're Welcome is what we use in all our promotions to bring people to Greensboro. And it has been quite successful over the years. Did you know, in tourism this year alone, $155 billion for the local economy in 2022. $155 billion. That means a lot of people have come to Greensboro. That means what you do in Greensboro makes a difference. In addition to that, here are some of our mainstays. 135 sporting events generating income by itself of $168 million. We got soccer, gymnastics, wrestling, ice skating, swimming, biking. It's because we have those facilities in Greensboro that attracts people to here. And we have, as you know, this engages the hospitality industry, creates entrepreneurship throughout this community. We want to let you know that we don't mention this very much, but it is an economic impact that makes a difference in Greensboro. As you can see, the community and all the features we have, all the entertainment spots we have, makes a difference on that. So be brief, and we like to say to everyone, you're welcome to Greensboro. Thank you very much for your report and your time. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. Anybody have questions for Mr. Sims? Okay. Well, thank you.
The first, thank you.
Yes. Now we'll move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'd like to introduce someone to you. I know the next week, October 25, is the celebration of International Artists' Day. And I know how important arts and culture is to our city. And we love our local artists as well. So tonight we want to introduce to you one of our local artists for recognition. And my colleague from Creative Greensboro, Karen, will do the introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. Greetings, Mayor Vaughn and City Council members. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. Greetings to my fellow city staff and all guests to this meeting. My name is Karen Archia, and I am on staff with Creative Greensboro, the city's Office for Arts and Culture. Currently in its second year, Downtown Arts is Creative Greensboro's program that enhances the downtown built environment with original artwork from Greensboro-based artists. 10 artists are featured in the 11 electronic kiosks through downtown, and 1 artist is chosen to create a special commission. Bevelyn A4 Oka is the 2023-24 Downtown Arts Special Commission for City Hall artists. She was chosen from 21 applicants to create original artwork on the theme Greensboro in 2022. Her vibrant mixed media piece called Our Collective Table is now part of the city's permanent collection. A 10-foot by 20-foot reproduction of her artwork hangs here in City Hall, right outside these doors, on display until June 2024. We have invited Bevelyn here today in an early celebration of International Artists' Day, which is next week, October 25th. Bevelyn will share her artist statement about the special commission piece and we hope that you enjoy her beautiful artwork. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Okay, so here we go. Country Park is a place where I spent a lot of time in 2022. The piece entitled Our Collective Table is inspired by scenes at Country Park and is an expression of my love for our city. I believe that Greensboro evolves as we honor and learn from our past human and ecological relationships. The images I've created in this artwork represent the processes of people coming together to rest, share, replenish, move, laugh, and remember. Our city hosts people who have arrived here from a variety of entry points. We have families that have been here for generations, families that are recent or established immigrants, and students from all over the world. Each person who lives in Greensboro has a unique story, and these stories often find themselves convening at one of the 100 plus parks in Greensboro. Woohoo! When I visit Country Park, I'm often struck by the beautiful diversity of the people there. This art is inspired by and honors the public gathering spaces in Greensboro that allow people of many different walks of life to come together to connect with nature, history, and each other. Our ecosystems hold our stories beautifully, and I believe trees are the most powerful multi-generational griots of our communities. Griots are people in West African and other cultures who share and express the history of a community, typically in oral forms such as poetry, music, and storytelling. This mixed media art piece features a beech tree, magnolia tree, oak tree, and longleaf pine, 4 trees that are indigenous to this area. In this piece, these trees are hosting people around a lake, which represents a table welcoming visitors daily. For me especially, these trees and lake also signify the potent connections I have made during my time with the Black Women's Art Collective, founded by Karen Archia, making art together around our collective table. We need these natural meeting spaces and the different perspectives that enliven them. Human figures are challenging to represent without prejudice, so I wanted to use artistic patterns to represent the human form. Though our identities are pivotal in understanding justice and equity in our societies, humans also hold a beautiful spirit that transcends our race, class, gender, ability, and other identity markers. I represented the spirit of Greensboro's human population with vividly colored decorative circles. Lastly, the cemetery is featured here to symbolize the imperative of honoring the dead as we honor the living. Creative Greensboro programs have done us all a service, supporting the artists and our storytelling. I am grateful for the opportunity to share my celebrations of our natural relationships. Lastly, I'd like to say that my first ever paid job was as a 15-year-old, and it was a publicly sponsored art program called Art School in Atlanta. And so I just wanted to name that in my life right now, I'm having a hard time and a lot of challenges acknowledging all the violence that's happening in the world. And it is spaces such as Creative Greensboro, people like Karen Archia, Zizi Barhoma, Nick Helms, the NC Climate Justice Collective, Jody Lassiter, Connie Leeper, Aldair Sobers, that continue to give me active hope. Thank you.
That's beautiful. So we will now move on to our consent agenda, items G1 through G14. Any items to be removed?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Can we have a minute to breathe a little bit? Can we, I just have a question on G1. and maybe I should have gotten this answer ahead of time.
The rental assistance question?
Yeah, the emergency. I guess that's continuing to go into the pot of money that we are using as we find people in homelessness or for homelessness or whatever.
Could you quickly answer that question?
Yes, good evening, Council. Yes, this is funding that was reallocated by the federal government from entities that did not spend all of their ERAP money. We applied, so this is additional money to carry out those ERAP programs.
Okay, because I knew ERAP was, out of money. So I was wondering how we were starting this up. Okay. How long do you think this money will last?
Not very long at all, ma'am.
Not very long. Okay.
No, 85 doesn't go very far.
85, not a whole lot.
But we're thankful for it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you for the explanation.
So
Thank you.
I think if you weren't going to pull anything off, I think Mrs. Huffman moved it and Mrs. Thurm seconded. And that passes 9-0. We will move on to our public hearing items. We will read H1 and H2 together. H1 is a public hearing to receive public comments on the 2023 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG, and H2, resolution authorizing grant application for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG program, fiscal year 2023, $318,541. We don't have anybody signed up.
Move the item.
So that is for item.
I have a question.
Mrs. Hightower?
Thank you very much. I appreciate y'all allowing me to ask a question. Y'all be rude item. Take it. So I just have a question on this grant, and I understand the purpose of it, and I understand we share it, but can someone tell me what our portion of the money will be used for? A few years ago, this grant came up, and I asked the question. The previous chief said, oh, we're going to use some of it for racial equity training. That never, ever occurred. What is this? What are these dollars that we get are going to? Because I know we share with High Point and the sheriff and all of that, so we don't want them to get our portion. But what is our intent?
In speaking with the chief, this particular allocation will be used for our forensics division, which does a number of things from crime scene. But also, if you remember, I think council was briefed at some point about the challenges we have with our evidence section. So there are a number of things within that section of the police department. But also, there's some indication for use on special teams, which there are some intangibles in that area that I can also provide council with a much more in-depth list of things.
Yeah, you can provide me a list later. I mean, that's fine. I just wanted to have some general idea of what your focus was going to be.
Yes, ma'am.
So, good. So that'll help solve some cases sooner?
Absolutely. There are a number of things that the police department is trying to stand up for some non-conventional, some non-enforcement ways to address violent crime. I think there are going to be some opportunities coming up for council to look at some of the technology and other advancements that the police department is trying to do.
Okay. Thank you for that,
yes,
for answering that question.
Move the item.
Council, please vote. And while that total is coming up, that $318,000, that is to be split with High Point and the Sheriff's Department, or is that our portion?
It is, yes, ma'am. Our portion looks like it's going to be $186,000.
186. 186,000.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
That passes 9-0. I need a motion for H2.
Move the item.
Madam Mayor, that was for H2. H1 was just to receive public comment and did not require a vote.
Okay. Okay. That's fine.
So,
item H3 and H4 we'll take together. Item H3 is a public hearing for an ordinance annexing territory into the corporate limits for the property located at 219 Ward Road, 0.86 acres, Odessa Patrick. And item H4, public hearing for an ordinance for original zoning, 219 Ward Road, Odessa Patrick. And I believe Mrs. Patrick is here for questions. Mike, you want to?
I'll go quickly. Thank you. Good evening. The request is to annex property and to establish original city zoning from the current county agricultural AG to city R3 residential single family. North of this request is currently zoned county RS30 residential single family. East and south of the request is zoned county AG, and west of the property is currently zoned city R3 residential single family. The subject property does contain a single family dwelling. North, east, and west of the request are also single-family dwellings, and south of the request is agricultural use. The site is currently designated as industrial on both the future land use map and the future built form map of the comprehensive plan. Staff notes this request does support the comprehensive plan's Creating Great Places goal to expand Greensboro's citywide network of unique neighborhoods, offering residents of all walks of life a variety of quality housing choices, and the Building Community Connections goal to maintain stable, attractive, and healthy places to live and raise families. The proposed request is intended to accommodate lower density, single-family detached residential development of up to 3 dwelling units per acre, and staff has concluded this original zoning request allows uses that are similar to the existing uses in the surrounding area, but does not significantly impact the options for future industrial development in the larger area envisioned in the comprehensive plan, and staff is recommending approval of both requests. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard these items at their September 18th meeting. There were no speakers on that. It was expedited review, and the commission unanimously recommended approval of both items. Can I answer any questions?
Move item H3.
Council, please vote. And then I will need a consistency, a statement of consistency for the next item.
Move the item.
Annexation passed 9-0. Next item is moved by Mrs. Hightower, seconded by Mr. Holston.
It passed or not passed, Mayor?
It
First.
passed.
Okay, just announce
Did I
it.
say it wrong? Oh. Mrs. Hightower?
So the Greensboro City Council believes that its action to approve the original zoning request for the property at 219 Wood Road from County AG Agricultural to City R3 Residential Single Family 3 to be consistent with the adopted GSO 2040 Comprehensive Plan and considers the action taken to be reasonable and in the public interest for the following reasons. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, future built form map, and future land use map. The proposed city R3 zoning district permits uses that fit the content of surrounding area and limits negative impacts of the adjacent properties. The request is reasonable due to the size, physical conditions, and other attributes of the area. It will benefit the property owner and surrounding community, and approval is in the public interest.
Okay, council, please vote. And that passes 9-0. Thank you. We'll now move on to our next items, which are H5 and H6. H5 is a public hearing for an ordinance annexing territory into the corporate limits for the property located at 200 Wolf Trail Road, Renai Ben David for GSR Wolf Trail Road Investment Group LLC. And item H6 is a public hearing for an ordinance for original zoning for 200 Wolf Trail Road, Renai Ben David for SGR Wolf Trail Investment LLC. We do have one speaker on this item. Mr. Kirkman?
Thank you, Mayor Vaughn. Yes, the request this evening is to annex the property into the city and establish city zoning. The property currently is zoned County RS30 residential single family, and the request is to establish city CDRM 26 conditional district residential multifamily. North, east, and west of this request is currently zoned city CDRM 26, and south of the subject property is currently zoned County RS30 residential single family. The property currently contains a single family dwelling. North East and west of the request is currently undeveloped at this time. South of the request are single-family dwellings. The property is designated primarily commercial on the future land use map of the comprehensive plan and as urban general on the future built form map. There are conditions associated with this request, as you can see on your screen. Staff has concluded this request does support the Creating Great Places goal of the comprehensive plan to expand Greensboro's citywide network of unique neighborhoods, offering residents of all walks of life a variety of quality housing choices, and the Building Community Connections goal to maintain stable, attractive, and healthy places to live and raise families. The RM26 district generally is intended to accommodate a variety of residential uses at a density of 26 units per acre or less, and as conditioned, the subject property will be incorporated into the surrounding property that is already zoned CD RM26 and be developed at a similar size and scale with that larger development. The uses allowed here are also compatible with the existing residential uses in the surrounding area, and staff is recommending approval of these requests. Planning and Zoning Commission heard these items at their September 18th meeting, unanimously recommended approval of both items. There were no speakers as this was an expedited review. Answer your questions.
Thank you.
So, Mike, I know I asked this via email, but I just want to be clear because I haven't heard anything about this until I saw it at Planning and Zoning. Was there any other community outreach? Was there any need? What's in the area?
Believe based on the applicant, they did take our list and then distribute information about what they were doing. Again, this is just to develop in conjunction with the rest of the property that was previously zoned to CDRM 26. This was just a holdout originally, and now they're ready to move forward.
Now he's coming in, or the person's has sold the property back to them. Okay.
Move the item.
Well, we do have a speaker. And I only have one speaker signed up for this item. I don't know if there are additional people.
I'll be brief. I'm Ladidra Matthews. Good evening, Mayor Vaughn and esteemed members of council. I will spare you the presentation, but to answer your question, Councilmember Hightower, there was a virtual community meeting held. No one attended, and there was no one who reached out in opposition. We did hear from Mr. Harold Timmons, who is a neighbor, and he is actually in support of this rezoning. I'm available otherwise for any other questions, but again, will not provide a presentation at this time.
Well, and I want to confirm that nobody else is speaking on this item.
Thanks, Ladidra.
Okay. Motion to close the public hearing?
Oh, so moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Holston, seconded by Mrs. Boozawaiter. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That passes 9-0. Now I need a motion for the annexation.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Holston, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Council, please vote.
Got to get on the other page, I guess.
And for the next item, we will need the statement of, hasn't come up yet. We'll need the statement of consistency.
Move the item.
Second.
Make sure it does.
It passed 9-0.
Passes 9-0. Yes, we do need a statement of consistency.
Yes, the Greensboro City.
By Mr. Holston.
Yes.
Who's the second on this one? Mrs. Thurm.
I seconded it.
Oh, I didn't hear you. That's why I asked who it was.
I didn't hear you either.
Moved by Mr. Holston, seconded by Mrs. Hightower.
The Greensboro City Council believes that its action to approve the original zoning request for the property at 200 Wolf Trail Road from County RS 30 residential single family to City CDRM 26 conditional district residential multifamily 26 to be consistent with the adopted GSO 2040 comprehensive plan and considers the action taken to be reasonable and the public interest for the following reasons. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan's future built form map and future land use map. The proposed City CDRM 26 zoning district permits uses that fit the context of surrounding area and limits negative impacts on the adjacent properties, and the request is reasonable due to the size, physical conditions, and other attributes of the area. It will benefit the property owner and surrounding community, and approval is in the public interest.
Council, please vote. And that passes 9-0. We'll move on to our next Two items, which are item H7, a public hearing for an ordinance annexing territory into the corporate limits for the property located at 4018 Sedgwood Lane, 0.5 acres. Nadia Espinoza on behalf of Lloyd Dickerson of Lionsgate LBD Properties LLC, and H8, which is a public hearing for an ordinance for original zoning for 4018 Sedgwood Lane. Nadia Espinoza on behalf of Lloyd Dickerson of Lionsgate LBD Properties LLC. We do have one speaker who is here to answer questions, I believe. Mr. Kirkman?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Vaughn. The request is to annex the property into the city and change the zoning from the current County RS40 residential single family to City R3 residential single family. North, east, and south, actually all directions around this property are currently zoned County RS40. The property has a single family dwelling at this point. North of the request is a stormwater pond as well as undeveloped land, and then east, south, and west are single family dwellings. This property is designated as residential on the future land use map of the comprehensive plan and as urban general on the future build form map. Staff has concluded this request does support the comprehensive plan's Creating Great Places goal to expand Greensboro's citywide network of unique neighborhoods, offering residents of all walks of life a variety of quality housing choices, and the Building Community Connections goal to maintain stable, attractive, and healthy places to live and raise families. The proposed R3 zoning is intended to accommodate lower density single-family detached residential development that's similar to the existing uses in the surrounding area, and staff is recommending approval of these requests. Planning and Zoning Commission heard these items at their September 18th meeting, unanimously recommended both the annexation and the original zoning, and there were no speakers at that meeting as an expedited item. Can answer any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Kirkman? Any questions for the applicant? No? Okay. Do we have a motion on H7, which is the annexation?
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Thurm, seconded by Dr. Wells. Council, please vote. And H8 will require a statement of the other one passes 9-0. I need a statement on the next one.
Move the item.
Second. Moved by Mrs. Thurm, seconded by Mrs. Abuzawader.
The Greensboro City Council believes that its action to approve the original zoning request for the property at 4018 Sedgwood Lane from County RS40 to City R3 to be consistent with the adopted GSO 2040 comprehensive plan, and considers the action taken to be taken to be reasonable and in the public interest for the following reasons. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan's future built form map and future land use map. The proposed City R3 zoning district permits uses that fit the context of surrounding area and limits negative impacts on the adjacent properties. The request is reasonable due to the size, physical conditions, and other attributes of the area. It will benefit the property owner and surrounding community, and approval is in the public interest.
Okay, Council, please vote.
Excuse me.
That passes 9-0. Item H9 and H10. H9 is a public hearing for an ordinance annexing territory into the corporate limits for the property located at 3900 Randleman Road, 0.807 acres, Eugene Lester, on behalf of Damon Millam of Millam Management Group, LLC. And H10, a public hearing for an ordinance for original zoning for 3900 Randleman Road, Eugene Lester, on behalf of Damon Millam and Millam Management, LLC. We do have a speaker on this item if needed. Mr. Kirkman?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Vaughn. Again, the request is to annex the property into the city and establish the original zoning from the current County RS40 residential single family to City CDLI conditional district light industrial. North and west of this request are currently zoned RS40 residential single family. East of the request is zoned County AG, and south of the property is currently zoned City CDLI conditional district light industrial. The subject property is currently undeveloped at this time. North, east, and west of the request are single-family dwellings, and south of the request is an outdoor storage yard. Property is currently designated as commercial on the future land use map of the comprehensive plan and as urban general on the future built form map. This is a conditional zoning, and so these are the conditions that are associated with the request and were advertised as part of the hearing this evening. Staff has concluded this request does support the comprehensive plan's prioritizing sustainability goals to build economic resilience, expand the local economy's ability to withstand and adjust to disruptions and changes at the regional, national, and global scales, and the economic competitiveness goals, to build a prosperous, resilient economy that creates equitable opportunities to succeed. The proposed request does allow a variety of warehouse, industrial, distribution, office uses that are generally compatible with surrounding uses on nearby properties, and does include conditions to limit potential negative impacts on the nearby residential properties, and staff is recommending approval of these requests. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard these items at their September 18th meeting, unanimously recommended approval of both items. This was done through expedited review, but there was one speaker in favor of the request at that meeting. Can I answer any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Kirkman or for the applicant?
I have another question similar to the one I asked before, and I think I talked. I'm not sure if I'm in favor of this expedited agenda that you all use at Planning and Zoning, because I don't really feel like you explore these cases to me the way you should. So there's a lot of unanswered questions or things aren't said. And I try to listen, but a lot of things I don't hear. You'll say no opposition, move it through. I personally feel like we ought to vet it at least a little bit more. So I understand the previous zoning on this property, and we saw this a few months ago. Is this same as what was before? He's trying to get this property?
Yes, right.
Is he expanding this auto
Yeah, it's a
business?
combination of it's property he also owns, the same owner as the existing city CDLI property, and in order to do the development, it kind of needs to square off the property, and so he needs to bring this property in as well so he can move forward with his project.
And so nobody showed up, or nobody knew to come, or was there any kind of community outreach to say we're expanding?
I'll have to let the
business?
attorney's representative speak to that. But yeah, I mean, what they communicated to us, again, they took our distribution list, provided notice to the neighbors, and I don't think they had any concerns expressed.
I know the first time around it was some concerns that came forth, so I'm just wondering, and I see the condition of increasing the buffer from 25 to 50 feet from the residential piece of it. And so I'm just curious to know the outreach that happened and the expansion, because it's a business and an office. And
Yeah, that was my
I guess I
understanding.
really don't understand the combo of the business, but
Yeah, and again, I may have to let the representative speak a little more, but it's my recollection that they were running kind of a high-end auto detailing business, and they would keep the cars on the property until they delivered it to the individual, and then the office use was part of that. So that's kind of why they needed the warehouse piece of it, to be able to store the vehicles until they were ready. But I'll let the representative of the applicant speak more to that.
Ms. Overby, if you have 15 minutes, if you could answer Mrs. Hightower's question or anything else you want to talk about too.
Yeah, happy to. So this property is acquired currently. This is kind of the second of two properties being joined together. One of our clients, Damon Millam of Millen Management, he's a local entrepreneur. He does low income tax returns, and so that's really during his busy season from January to May. And then in the off season, he enjoys doing car detailing. He has a couple other businesses around the area, including High Point, Concord, Warrenton, and also in Greensboro. And he just wants to use this business as low-income tax preparation and car detailing in the off-season. Based on the plans, and I'm sure, I believe you guys have a booklet about it, but the plans are basically to make, with this added property, the business will be more visible to the road, hopefully attracting more customers to the property, as well as it provides greater privacy for the surrounding residential areas. And if you'd like to look on page tab 5, that currently lists some businesses in the area that include a Sunco, a restaurant, and so this new business, this potential new business does have the ability to bring in new customers, new economic viability for the area, as well as providing a need to the patrons of Randleman Road and around that area.
So there's a picture here of a, what's that? So it's a convenience store next to what?
Those are just businesses that are around, on Randleman Road, around that area. I know the pictures are kind of difficult to see, but I believe on the first few pages of the booklet, it lists them out. So I know one is a auto repair shop, one is a restaurant, a gas station and convenience store.
Oh, that looks awful. What do you think?
Well,
Ma'am, did you say something?
Could
well,
you
we
also?
wanted to know if anybody had moved the item, but do you still have a question?
I think she still has a question. And
Well,
while
you
we're-
go ahead.
Relative to, and you might have already stated this, but as far as the outreach for the community, how did you do it, and was there any responses? Were there any responses?
I'm not exactly sure. I'm new to this issue. I am not aware of community outreach. I'm not sure. I believe I read something in one of the attachments for this meeting that there was community outreach.
Do you know if that was by Zoom or by letter or by community meeting?
I'm not sure.
And I know that we're limited to the 750 feet, which it looks like it would have not been very many, and Director Swartz may be able to confirm some of that.
I'm not sure Mr. Holston can see me, actually. Hi. Yeah, so, over here, sorry. Just to kind of reiterate the discussion, so as we normally do, we provided the distribution list of the 750 foot that we use on there, and that was provided to Mr. Lester, the attorney, and he used that to send out letters to the property owners in that area. I can't speak more specifically to other conversations after that point in time, but in information provided back to us, he didn't indicate he received any opposition after that communication occurred.
And I'm also not aware of any opposition that we received.
Correct, and this is more for the staff than anyone else. But looking at the zoning maps and the like, and looking at the density or lack thereof in that area, with that 750 feet, and I'm not doing math in public here. About how many properties would have been included or residences? It looks like it's fairly sparsely populated there.
The numbers in the staff report, bear with me here just 1 second. A total of 48 notices are 48 properties within that 750 foot radius.
48.
48.
Yes.
Yeah, and I understand. I remember him when he came the last time to annex this. This time, though, this doesn't seem very well presented to me, because he's adding two. It's just an odd combination of a quote-unquote low-income tax service and an auto car dealership. Are there any there? So, Mike, can I ask this? As we're expanding, really, you're expanding just the auto detailing and having an office in the body of that. So, there are no restrictions like to prevent it from being an auto repair or any of that? Is storage on site? And the reason I'm saying all this, because there's so many issues on Randleman Road right now. This is why we got to get this area plan started, because some of these things turn into on-site storage. And I know, Mr. City Manager, you've seen, Mr. City Attorney, the many emails that come from a group over there. Things start out one way, they turn into something else, and you don't have really any way to ensure that it remains what it says it's going to remain. So on-site storage, trailer storage, things of that nature. Is there anything to prohibit any of that within the body of this zoning?
Right, so the only zoning condition that was associated with this request was the fence condition and the separation, the additional setback from residential. And those are the same conditions that are on the current CDLI property that's in the city now.
Well, I think because that particular zoning was a smaller piece, which now we're expanding beyond into the next lot. So you're expanding that. I'm just a little concerned about.
And I'll of course note that we do have standards for screening if you're talking about outdoor storage or auto repair, other things on there with that. The ordinance separately from the light industrial district does have standards for screening from residential property and from the street.
So the separation we're talking, those couple of conditions you kind of flip by kind of quickly.
I'll come back.
Can you go back
Yep,
to
right
them for me? I think I saw. So that's just fencing though, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, so they're going to have a fence.
They're going to have a fence.
Bordering the outside of the property, and then again, the condition is to increase the setback of buildings from those property lines.
And we don't know the footage beyond the 50 shall be 50 instead of 25, which I think, I'm just a little concerned by the lack of information, the lack of knowledge about what's going on. And it's like, okay, well, he did this, just add this. So this is property that he just got a chance to have access to?
I think he's owned the property for a while, right?
Yes, so he has owned the property for most likely at least a year. I'm not sure of the exact date he acquired it, but in 2021 was when the 3904 and 3904ZZ lot was rezoned into commercial light industrial. And then once that was rezoned, the owner of the lot that we're talking about now, 3900 Randleman Road, that owner approached Mr. Malam and talked to him and said, hey, my land is sitting vacant. I know that you're going to build a new business here. Will you buy this property off of my hands? Will you take this off my hands? And so Mr. Malam agreed and bought the property, and that's kind of how we got to where we are now. Mr. Malam does have a number of other businesses within North Carolina, within the Triad, that are great, reputable businesses, and he is a minority entrepreneur, and so I think bringing that spirit and drive into a new business, especially on Randleman Road, would be really great for the area. The property right now is sitting vacant, so any business, especially one that would add value to the street, could be very beneficial.
Yeah, I know him. I met him. I've had conversation with him. It was interesting. I haven't had any conversation with him about this. So, yeah, he's a black entrepreneur, not just a minority entrepreneur. So, yes, he's a black person. And I get that. Don't get me wrong. And I certainly support black entrepreneurs in growing their businesses. It's just a little concerning that I hadn't heard from that. And some of his other businesses aren't office and auto detailing. Because I looked them all up from the last rezoning case we had, which is why I supported it. I did vote for it in the last time around. But the expansion of it, I think, is concerning to me, the expansion of the auto piece of it. And I just know the issues we've had with auto shops, auto detailing, somebody don't come back, pick the car up. I mean, I just don't know how that business will be. But thank you for answering what you can.
The applicant, do we have a motion on the item for that? And this is for the annexation. Well, I guess moved to close the public hearing. Second. Moved by Mrs. Thurm, seconded by Mrs. Abuzawader. All in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed? That passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the annexation.
So move.
Second. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Dr. Wells. Council, please vote. The second item will require a statement of consistency.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Who are you waiting on? Okay. And that passes 7-2 with Councilwoman Hightower and Councilman Holston voting against. Now, can I have a motion and statement of consistency? Moved by Mrs. Thurm. Second. Seconded by Ms. Abuzawader.
The Greensboro City Council believes that its action to approve the original zoning request for the property at 3900 Randleman Road from County RS 40 to City CDLI to be consistent with the adopted GSO 2040 comprehensive plan, and considers the action taken to be reasonable and in the public interest for the following reasons. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan's future built form map and future land use map. The proposed city CDLI zoning district permits uses that fit the context of surrounding area and limits negative impacts on the adjacent properties. The request is reasonable due to this size, physical conditions, and other attributes of the area. It will benefit the property owner and surrounding community, and approvals in the public interest.
Council, please vote. And that passes 7-2 with Councilwoman Hightower and Councilman Holston voting against. That is the end of our public hearing items. We now move on to general business.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
May I speak before we move on?
Yes.
Again, I'm going to reiterate my concern with this expedited docket at planning and zoning. And in this particular item, and I voted no, because there's not enough information. There's a new attorney that showed up. She didn't really know, and to her credit, she did all she could, and I appreciate that. But the applicant didn't even show up either. So they just felt like it was a slam dunk because it was on a rocket docket. And that may not always be the case. It could have easily gotten here and got turned down. So I think we're sending the wrong message there. Secondly, I wish we could put a deadline on getting information. I don't like coming here sitting and getting 5 or 6 pages of different items that I don't have time to read. And I'm a person who reads to inform herself so I can make a decision. And this stuff should have come in to me at least in a certain timeline so that you have time. Now I'm sitting here flipping through a book trying to figure it out. And I think that's a disservice to the applicant as well, to me, trying to make a sound decision, make an intelligent decision, sit up here and ask questions. Well, I'm asking questions that others may think, oh, that sounds kind of wacky. But it's because I don't know, and I haven't had an opportunity. to really vet it. So even when I looked on the agenda item, I had to reach out to Mr. Kirkman because I didn't understand, why this was coming back and how it was created. So I wish we'd really think about that, and that's something I'd like to request for us to consider. So I just wanted to state that. Thank you.
Thank you. Business agenda. Item I-1 is a resolution to approve a contract in the amount of $970,970 with Schneider Fleet Solutions.
Move the item. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Abuzawader, seconded by Mr. Matheny. Sharon? And that passes 9-0. Item I-2 is a resolution authorizing a commercial lease agreement with MSH Myers Building, LLC for office space in the Myers Building located at 200 South Elm Street.
Move the item.
Second.
So I think it was moved by Tammy and seconded by Dr. Wells.
Whatever.
That's fine. It's okay.
Council members Abuzawader and Hoffman.
And that passes 9-0. I-3 and I-4 are together. I-3 is a resolution approving bid in the amount of $4,780,637.50 and authorizing execution of contract 2020-037A with KRG Utility, Inc. for the Brush Creek Outfall Improvement Project. And item I-4, an ordinance to amend the Water Resources Capital Project Revenue Fund Bond Fund budget to appropriate funding for the Bush Creek Outfall Project in the amount of $4,780,638.
Move I-3.
So moved by Mrs. Hightower, seconded by Mr. Holston on I-3. And that passes 9-0. I need a motion for I-4.
So
Move I-4.
Moved by Mrs. Hightower, seconded by Mr. Matheny.
I just want to be beside Sharon.
What? You better come on down. Better jump in where you can fit in. I know, you can't get one in.
And that passes 9-0.
There you go, Zach.
Item I-5 is a resolution to authorize an agreement in an amount up to $193,660 with Interactive Resource Center for the Doorway Pallet Shelter Project. Moved by, just so for the record, moved by Dr. Wells, seconded by Mrs. Abuzawader.
Mr. Manager, this is not directly associated, somewhat directly associated with this item, but I sent an email to you and council staff, and I know the mayor sent it to the county. This is a Band-Aid on what we're experiencing in our community right now. And we have talked extensively for well over a year with our partners at the county, with our COC representatives, and there is not a doubt in anyone's mind that the situation has deteriorated versus being improved. So we're voting tonight. This is one Band-Aid out of some more that we're probably going to do in the next few months. Meanwhile, we lost another
2 unsheltered folks just in downtown alone in the last 6 weeks, probably 4. That's, as I know it, that's 5 just in downtown Greensboro alone that have died from somebody else's hands or natural causes. So my concern is we pass this Band-Aid, which I may or may not support, and we think that we've done something, but it doesn't take many people. I walked Center City Park today, and the amount of people living in the park, whether they're in tents or otherwise, is incredible. The folks living in the front of our buildings. We are perpetuating making it worse. So how? I mean, we're not making it better. Because if we're not making it better, then we're failing to make it better. And then how are we failing to make it better is because we've talked to the folks, our partners in the COC, we've talked to service providers. I know for a fact that members of the city staff have called on the Clean and Green folks to help interact with the unsheltered population or the hospitality team, which neither one of those teams are trained to handle the situation that we're in. So by perpetuating making it worse, what I'm saying is I know in the region, the area, the district that I am elected to represent, it has substantially gotten worse. I have city employees, and this is said in my email today, that take pictures, send them to me, and say, Mr. Matheny, I'm having to clean up this every day. Every day. And how we're making it worse? Because we ain't doing what we need to do. And I don't have all the answers. I said that in my email. But if we're Band-Aid this, fine. Let's put the pallet shelters. I don't want to bring that discussion up from last year. But I tell you this, how about Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, I'll meet any of you at Center City Park, and let's take a walk with me. And I'll have 2 representatives from the downtown hospitality team that'll walk with us, and they can tell you stories of what they experience. And if it's okay, Mr. Manager, because I don't want to micromanage, but I know a few folks that have come down here from the Clean and Green, including Mr. Daltrey, that would love to tell you more about what he's experiencing as a city employee and the liabilities that we are making them do because we're not doing enough. 8 o'clock Thursday morning, I'm happy. Whoever wants to join, come on down, see it. And if you want me to come to your district, I'll come to your district.
I want to say I've been through the parks very frequently in the last few weeks. Thursday morning we have a GCEDA meeting, so I will not be able to join you, but I am on record as having been in that park very often over these last months. So, but what you're mentioning is what I think we've mentioned for the last 2 years, really since COVID, is this is a Band-Aid. We know that the long-term solutions are housing. It will be things like the Regency and the Oaks. But right now, we don't have those units online. So we are forced to spend this money because those units aren't online and because the affordable housing developments are not fully built. So this is a lost opportunity. And by that I mean we are spending this money on a one-time thing for the pallet shelters when we should be investing it in something else. But we are in a position where these are life and death decisions. And so we have to move forward with this, and hopefully we'll see more buildings go vertical. And, you know, the county has recently bought one building that they're going to bring online, I think, for rehab. But you're right, this is not, it's not a good alternative, but it's the only alternative because we just don't have the units at this point.
Yeah, if this was such a success last year and we were able to implement this quickly, then why strategically, knowing that Regency and other places were going to be offline, did we not strategically take some funds and double the amount of pallet homes to get people off the street and find locations that could be more permanent, meaning that I get that DOI, Department of Insurance, says you can only live in one of these for 6 months. Have a more strategic plan to locate some double the amount in another location and take it down, and then quite frankly use them during the summer when it's too hot outside. So again, this is one Band-Aid, but we didn't take it to the next step strategically and think about what else we can do. So I'm fine, but it also goes with, we've talked about this. I mean, I've been here since 2005. I mean, we've talked about this our entire lives, but specifically, we've hammered this discussion in the last 12 months. And specifically, you don't have to go far to see how bad it's gotten in the last 12 months. So what I'm talking about is not just about this item. It's about a global conversation. But again, I can talk strategy. If it's a success, double it. Let's do something.
So, Zach, I hear you.
And after Sharon.
I hear you. One of the things that we've stopped kind of meeting our homeless task force to come up with some of these solutions. But we can't be the only one to try to solve this. The county's got to be at this table, and we all started out that way. I don't know what's happened in the last few months that we haven't met again. We committed to more housing units. We seem to have paused that as well. And so maybe some of this shelter money could have been used for that. But in the interim, we got to help people try to get off the street, because I understand it's a problem downtown. Yeah, it's a problem in other areas. Somebody is upset about 68 Regional Road. They got camps out there and what it looks like and how bad it looks. And so, yeah, it is a problem. And now buses are driving people here because we are taking care of the homeless. And somebody told me they saw somebody, the bus pulled up and dropped off about 3 people. So we're taking care of them the best we know how. But you're right, and we got to really find a permanent solution. We came up with a couple ideas, but we got to have some money. And I think we need our homeless task force needs to gather back together and put our heads together so we can deal with this situation.
I will just say, Robin's been trying to get a meeting together, and she's had trouble with people responding. So she did send an email out today with some alternative dates, I thought.
Okay, because I had...
With Mary Kay and then Hugh.
Okay, so I just wanted to say I agree it's just a Band-Aid, but I do know that there were some success stories that came out of the pallet homes. Several of the people got jobs. I don't really have those statistics in front of me, but I know that we had some kind of report saying that a lot of people were helped. And I do want to piggyback on what Mrs. Hightower was talking about. And I know I'm down there a lot, and we have people come by a lot who are unhoused, homeless, whatever terminology you wish to use. And we have found out in speaking with the homeless, and I know the mayor has as well, that they are coming from other cities with a one-way bus ticket to Greensboro.
Right.
Because it is known throughout the state, and actually some from Florida, some from Wilmington, some from Fayetteville, that go to Greensboro, they'll take care of you. And I'm a very open, caring person, but we can't take care of everybody. And the more they send to us, the other cities, I don't know what we can do to solve that, but it's starting to put a strain on the resources that we do have. So, I don't know if there's a magic answer to that either, but, I know the mayor and I had a conversation about it, talked to a few other council people. I really don't know what we can do there. But, it's
it's bad when we like having a reputation of helping people. That's what Greensboro is all about. But, you know, when you start becoming overwhelmed because you hear that someone was given a one-way bus ticket to Greensboro, that is a concern. So.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Zach, you are correct. This is a Band-Aid. Madam Mayor, you are correct in that we have the Regency and the Oaks, but just realistically, even those are just not enough. Pragmatically, this is a situation that is going to take some gumption on the side of council and county commissioners to provide funding for it, because we can talk about and dream about and hope about all the things that are going to happen, but until we put the funding behind it to make it happen, it's going to be difficult. And it's a difficult time to put money behind it. We have to set our priorities. Everybody here on this council is committed to it. We just need to find a way to fund it, have the city manager to strategize it, and then put it into action. But we're going to have to fund it, and that's the critical piece for me.
So let me just say, we talk about funding, and I would say that the city is well invested in this problem. We have stepped into an arena that we shouldn't be in, but we are filling that space because other people aren't. We talk about investing. We don't build things. We work with people who build things. You know, we are working with our affordable home developers to get more houses out of the ground. So I believe we are doing the best we can, even going above and beyond our budget. But we have to have the 2 permanent supportive housing. We have asked the county for some funding to help us with those 2 projects, and we're still waiting on the Housing Authority to give vouchers for those projects, because without vouchers, there's no income stream. So there are plenty of people that need to step up to the plate right now, and I think the city has done a good job working with our providers to get more spaces. But we're not going to build a shelter. We are not going to build an apartment building, but we can help finance the people who are.
I think on the funding mechanism, I know Tammy, I'll be quick,
okay.
But on the funding, the fact of the matter is, what return on investment is the city getting on our funding? What return on investment are we getting? Because we're funding a lot of organizations. To your point, Madam Mayor, we're funding a lot of organizations, we're funding a lot of programs, we're funding a lot all over the place, and I can only speak to the district that I represent in this case, because I see it. I don't see providers anywhere helping to partner and help those that I see that are in obvious need. So what return on investment is the city getting on all the funds, the millions of dollars that we have passed through to these organizations? I'm not seeing the return on investment.
Could we have somebody, I'm sorry, Tammy, can we have somebody check with the urban ministry? Because as of November 1st, I believe, they said that they were going to be back up to full strength.
I believe
Can we make sure that that is occurring?
I do know that they are, yeah.
Yes, that's correct. They're back at 100% bed capacity.
So they are back at full. Okay, Tammy?
I was just going to say that, you know, I've only been here for 6 years. And for 6 years, we've not had the partnership from the people that really should be doing this work and helping to fund this work. And until we find a way to hold those people accountable as well, we're going to be stuck footing the bill. And, you know, I think it's part of, you know, people come to us all the time complaining to us about not funding homeless shelters and doing things for the homeless. But I think it's time that we just kind of be real open and real honest about the people that are getting money or that should be doing this work and aren't doing the work. And until the public starts pushing on those people as well, nothing's going to change. And we need the public to realize, we pussyfoot around about who should be doing this work. And we might as well say it. This is a county function. This is not a city function. Health, human services, those types of things. And until, it's going to tick people off, but until the pressure is on the county to do something, we're going to be in the same position. I agree, the more we do, the further behind we get, and it's because we have a reputation and because, frankly, we've let our partners off the hook. And they don't do something, so we step up to do it. That's not a long-term solution. And I think, we just have to call it like it is and put some pressure on others to do their part of this. It's hard work. I know it's difficult for these organizations, for the county, whatever. But the reality is we can't shoulder it all. Greensboro City can't fund it all. And something's going to have to change because we can't take the full brunt of this responsibility ourselves. We step up to do it because it's going to be cold outside or because it's going to be hot outside or because somebody has to do it, and we don't want to see people left out on the street. But the reality is we've got to have the public and the community let it be known that this is top priority to the people that should be funding this and should be doing this work, and that's the county.
So one kind of deliverable is last year's doorway project, the pallet homes. 80% of those people who started at the pallet homes found long-term housing. And that's possibly because they had some intensive case management. So that is a success story, to be able to have people and work with them on a regular basis to see that we can get them into places. There just aren't many places left anymore to house people. And I would agree that we're seeing people come off the buses and the trains with suitcases. You see suitcases all over, and it's not even just downtown. You see it in other out-of-the-way places. So we will be bringing something back for council's consideration to give us a way to prioritize the people who need services and the people who have lived their lives here compared to people who have just stepped off the bus. So we'll probably bring something for consideration within the next month.
Plus with those houses, there was less need for police intervention. Is that correct, Trey? That saves us money. And less need for health care or emergency care. Though that's not our direct responsibility, but those are two of the benefits, two that I know.
So I believe we still have to vote on that item. Sharon?
So one other quick question. I know we could talk about this until tomorrow and the next day. One of the things you just said, though, is the intense case management. So I'm noticing that we are the Interactive Resource Center. Was this an RFP again to go out to them? Is that what happened?
It was. There was an RFP that went out.
So none of our other partners, or let me just say maybe our partner, but none of the other providers, if you will.
How many people responded to the RFP?
I can't remember.
The Interactive Resource Center was the only respondent. We did hold 2 information sessions to talk to any interested parties, but they were the only respondent.
So that's the other thing, too. I think one entity is the only one trying to do the work, and maybe if there's another entity, and I don't know, we need to look at that. I don't know if that's dollars, and I have been in COC meetings where they have talked about the fact that in order to do some of this work, they've got to have the staff, and to have the staff, you've got to have the money, because staff can't come and do this for free, okay? And maybe as you're doing intense case management, you're moving people quicker so that as you move out, you can move in some, maybe in 6 months. Maybe you're moving them out quicker. Therefore, you're moving them, because sometimes rapid rehousing is a slow process. And we have to change some of that. Once you do the SPDAT, then you got to wait, do the assessment, then you got to find the housing, which there are some housing out there. But we also, I think, need to incentivize some of these landlords, because right now they're rebuffing people coming in, even with vouchers. They don't want people with vouchers. I can tell you that. That's why a lady I know right now is in a hotel. They don't want Section 8 vouchers. And so my
There are
vouchers
vouchers, there aren't houses.
well, I think there is some housing, because I got some landlords I know that I talk to, but they too, the rents are up because they can get it.
Well,
they, quite frankly, they can get it.
If you know somebody with a voucher and a place to live, that's what that voucher is for. There are more vouchers, and the other important thing about the vouchers that we need, GHA needs to use them, because if they don't use them, they'll lose them. So
right.
it makes sense for them to partner with us on these projects.
And so when I talked to the director of Housing Authority about that, they're waiting on a response from HUD, because he says HUD has to not only allow them to do it, because there has to be a justification.
There was a woman,
those.
I will say that there were two people from HUD in a luncheon that we had a few months ago, and the woman from HUD said this is absolutely an appropriate use of Section 8 vouchers.
Not saying it's not appropriate use, they have to get the
But what I'm saying is, it was
so.
the HUD woman who said that.
Yeah, but I don't know, was she the one over this area? I don't know who it is. I'm just relaying to you the message, because I went to the individual and had the conversation about what we were waiting on and notification about
James
those
knows
vouchers.
what we're waiting on, and he just needs to go ahead and make a decision.
We just need to continue to talk to him about what got to happen. But we also got to look at the Oaks. When is the Oaks going to come online now? Because now it's being talked about not coming online.
Well, the contract hasn't been signed yet.
So again, we say
We're hoping to get some funding from the county. It is pending before them. And I hope they're listening to this discussion.
And that's more money that the county's not stepping up with to do what they need to be doing.
No, you're fine. Yeah. No, you're fine. No, I get that and everything, but we need to make sure that we, as a collective, are having that discussion. And Mr. City Manager, that's a conversation you need to be having with the county manager as well, because the county manager is quick to say, and I'll say this, he's quick to say no to a lot of things. So that's something he really needs to understand the urgency of. So, thank you.
Madam Clerk, we do have a motion. Has it been voted on?
No, ma'am.
Council will vote.
That passes 9-0. Item I6 is a resolution to approve an exterior insulation finishing system recoating project at the Greensboro Aquatic Center with Sharp Interiors in the amount of $382,535.
Move the item.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by. Oh,
She had pressed the button already because I tried to press it.
all right. Moved by Dr. Wells, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Council, please vote.
I'll second it. I couldn't do it. It's nothing come up on my
Did you vote
screen to
already?
do it.
That passes 9-0. Item I7 is an ordinance in the amount of $1,498,998, establishing the fiscal year 2023-24 Home Budget Consortium P1 Burlington.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Sturm, seconded by Mrs. Abuzawader. That passes 9-0. Our last two items, item number I-8 is a resolution approving bid in the amount of $2,348,870.50, authorizing execution contract 2015-1040 tip U-5532E with Atlantic Contracting Company, Inc. for the general sidewalk improvements, and I-9, a resolution approving change order number 1 in the amount of $290,310 for contract 2022-0420 with Atlantic Contracting Company, Inc. for the concrete sidewalk and curb ramp repairs 2023 budget.
Move the item. Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Mrs. Abuzawader, seconded by Dr. Wells. Council, please vote.
Councilmember Hightower?
And that passes 9-0. Now I need a motion for I-9.
Move the item.
I have a question, please.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Sharon?
I'm just asking about this change order, and I'm reading what goes along with it. Typically, do we use change order just to add more areas? This didn't go back out for bid. How was that decision determined? Because you added some additional areas. That's what made this a change. To me, I don't see that being a change. I think it should have been another bid to be out there to offer more opportunity. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but and it decreases the MBE participation, even though it was pretty high. It decreased it, but it increased. Decreased actually both of them, which one, the WB company is her sister company anyway, and I've had quite a concern about that even, you know, but it's legal. While I may not like it, I guess it's legitimate. So can you explain that to me?
I believe Kenny is here, but if I'm not mistaken, the additional gutter, curb, driveway aprons, and wheelchair ramps are associated with the original contract of the sidewalks.
Well, it said, though, to add, it said additional areas. That's what
Correct.
It says. So these areas were already part of the original?
I can add on to that. This is a standard city-funded sidewalk contract, and in those contracts, we have extension language in so that if additional work is found or things that have been lingering, waiting on right-of-way acquisition, this includes that driveway I think you and I may have spoken about recently on Glendale. And it's just an efficient way for us to add it to a contract that has good participation, just as a matter of efficiency. It could be repackaged and rebid. We just did not think, given how these three sections were right in line with the other contract, and we had a contractor on board, we just thought it would be more efficient to extend the contract and add those with additional work that we had.
And I understand, and I appreciate it, and I certainly support MWB, so let me say this out loud. But I support inclusion and opportunity. Deep bundling sometimes sidewalk packages does just that. And so this is a white woman company that created another white woman company, and typically they get all the work, and then she subs it out to that one. And, you know, so the concern is no black businesses ever get any work here. You see MBEs, but they're not of the black persuasion, I'm just going to be honest. And I know they're out there because I hear a lot from them that say we don't ever get an opportunity. And we're here, we're DBE certified, Hub certified, MWB certified. We can do the work, but we just don't get an opportunity. So sometime I'm wondering if debundling things would maybe make that possible. So that's why I asked the question about what you added to. So certainly support the company and the work they do, and she found a way to do other work within the body of her company. Okay, I'm not mad. It's legal. So I may not like it though, but I'm gonna have my other piece of supporting it, but I don't like it. So I'm just wondering if when other sidewalks come up that maybe haven't done, that are not in the original contract, I would like for you to at least look at doing some of that, other than just packaging all up under one.
We can do that. The original participation here, even on the MBE side, was good. So there's some risk, because if we had gone the other way, it could have actually decreased that participation. But I agree with you. We should look at that on each one of these to make sure we're getting good participation. So yeah, we will absolutely do that. And that's sort of what Kenny's saying here, is because there was good participation, it was an opportunity to extend that.
No, I mean, I applaud and appreciate, and I do, and Kenny's one of the few staff people that probably starting to look at it and don't push back. I got to say it out loud, I mean, honestly, but still, I think that merits conversation, so we don't continue to find ourselves at a disparity, which I think when the disparity report comes out, we are going to find ourselves at a disparity.
Understood.
So,
and appreciate it.
So, all right. Thank you for answering the question.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Council, please vote. Oh, did we vote?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, this is the item. So Sharon, you must have voted. Yeah, that passes 9-0. Thank you. That is the end of our printed agenda. Boards and commissions. Mrs. Hightower?
No, I don't have any for tonight.
Dr. Wells?
I'd like to appoint Mr. Paul Gilmer Sr. to the Board of Commissions. It's the planning and zoning. Oh. Yeah. Yes, to fill this spot for this time.
I know that they really, really need this seat filled.
They do, and he's replacing Vernal Alford.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes 9-0. Goldie, anyone else? No. Zach, boards and commissions. Nancy, Tammy.
I don't have any appointments, but I do want to let folks know that I need someone that would like to serve on the Solid Waste Commission. And if there's anybody interested out there, please reach out to me, let me know. Fill out one of the forms online, but I'd like to fill that open slot. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
No.
Boards and commissions? Mary Kay, boards and commissions?
Yes, thanks to Mrs. Thurm, I finally have someone for the Insurance Advisory Committee, and that is Tiara Woodward, and I can't recall who she was to replace because it's been vacant for so long. So Tiara Woodward will be filling, there's 3 vacancies. Yeah, I think so, yeah. So, yeah, and I'm still looking for 2 more because, as I stated a couple of meetings ago, Greensboro had no one to,
support Greensboro on the insurance advisory. So if you have anyone else, please let me know.
Will do.
Need somebody else, yes.
Q, boards and commissions?
None tonight, Madam Mayor, but I am also looking for someone for the Solid Waste Commission.
Okay. Council comments, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, the manager and I attended the event at the airport last week. It was a walking art tour, but it was also sort of a celebration of all of the things that PTI has done, the new runway, the expansion of some of the businesses out there, and which of course means more employment. So we enjoyed it. I did bring you each a brochure, and I'm going to give it to the clerk, and she'll put it on your desk so that you can see some of the pieces of art that are exhibited. I thought it was a great idea, and we enjoyed meeting a number of people in our community who have supported the PTI for a long time. So that's my report. I don't have anything else.
Thank you. Mary Kay?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Got a lot of things that have happened over the last couple of weeks. Wanted to mention the Marks Angel Foundation. We had the gala and the golf tournament. I know several police officers supported the golf tournament, and Marks Angel Foundation was founded due to the death of Mark Friedman, and they have become very involved in the community. I do serve on their board, but they gave another $25,000 to Crime Stoppers. In the last 3 years, they have been designating quite a bit of their golf tournament to the Crime Stoppers. So I just wanted to thank them, and it was a really nice event, and the mayor was able to stop by for the golf tournament, and they really appreciated that. Was there for the opening of the newcomer school in High Point, representing the mayor. It was named the Sylvia Mendez School, and it was just an amazing event where the Governor Cooper came to speak, and so many other dignitaries were there. And we all were at the Industries of the Blind. I'm sure that several of us were. I'm sure Sharon will mention that in a few moments for their 90th anniversary, but she gave a really moving talk that day, so that was very well received. If you haven't been downtown during Noches Latinas, I certainly urge you to go. I had not been. I serve on the board of Casa Azul, and unfortunately had not been, but it's always done on First Friday, and it is an event you will not forget. So please, it's always held in LeBauer Park, weather permitting, and it was very nice. The mayor and I attended the Firefighter Memorial at Green Hill, and I do want to publicly thank Mr. Larry Kochman. He is the one who restarted this memorial. It was going on through 1969. Every year they had a memorial event, and for some reason it stopped. They never could figure out why it stopped. So Mr. Larry Kochman, who is a retiree, is the one who restarted having this event. He will no longer be doing it. He's going to turn it over to someone else, but I just wanted to thank him publicly for bringing this back up. As chair of the Piedmont Authority for the Regional Transportation, Sharon and I, of course, are there, and we received a clock because we now have 25 years of the Piedmont Authority for Regional Transportation, so had a really nice event there. Of course, many of us were at the Community Foundation celebration of their 40th year anniversary. I do want to also mention, as the mayor said, please pray for peace in the Middle East. Thank you.
Mr. Holston?
Sorry, we have some family members there, so thank you.
Sorry.
Bless you, Mary Kay. Just a couple of things, Madam Mayor. One is that a couple of weeks ago I was visiting churches in the Cardinal area, and one of the worshipers turned suddenly ill. And I want to give a big shout out to Fire Station number 17 for showing up quickly and handling their businesses as they do. It was just a blessing to have them there doing and knowing and serving. And then next is This past Saturday was the homegoing service for Mr. Matthew Wayne Grant. He's the gentleman who was terribly killed at the football game on September 29th. I was unable to attend as I was out of town, but I've spoken with his cousin, Tracy Moore, and she shared that it was just a very touching, honorable, respectful, homegoing service, loving for a man of faith, Reverend Matthew Wayne Grant. And as many of you know, he was a friend of mine. He still is a friend of mine, and he'll never be forgotten. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Tammy?
I'd just like to take a moment to say that there are people hurting in our community and around the world, and I would really personally appreciate it if we all just take a moment and give each other a moment of grace. I had a road rage incident recently where I was driving down the road, and the next thing I know, somebody was mad at me and threw a completely full bottle of water at my car and hit my car. And I thought, my car just got a dent in it and the paint's messed up, but how lucky am I that it wasn't a gun and a bullet? And I just think we all need to stop and think. Everybody, people are under so much pressure, whether it be socially, economically, spiritually, whatever it is, and we just need to stop and give each other a moment of grace and understand that everybody is dealing with stuff. And some of the stuff is harder than other stuff. But we are so fast to jump to conclusions about people, myself included. And I think we all just need to stop and take a moment and offer grace to those that are around us. I'm not naive enough to think that that's going to solve the problems of the world, but it can't hurt. And I think it's a start. It's a start. And that's really all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Nancy?
Tomorrow evening, we will be celebrating and honoring Marilyn Chandler's 37 years of service and leadership to the Jewish community, but also the greater Greensboro community. And, you know, we'll have the opportunity actually to present her the key to the city. You know, Marilyn has done a lot in this community in her 37 years, and one of the things that I think is really important is that she started the Interfaith Faith Missions a number of years ago. And so I think that has been really an important bridge of getting us to know each other better in this city. So I'll echo what Tammy just said. You know, actually, Marilyn had an article in Marilyn Chandler had an article in today's News and Record, which I hope we all have read or will read, entitled "No, the local Jewish community is not okay." But she had a lot to say other than just what's going on in this community. And Mary Kay has family in Gaza. It's unfortunately, when we have these situations wherever in the world, it's really innocent civilians who suffer the most, more than the military and others. I mean, there's suffering there too, but it is innocent civilians who get caught up in these terrible operations. And so the only thing that we can try to do is, you know, is to live our lives better and really to think about what we do in terms of what Tammy just had to say. I think so. We have certainly a lot to think about at this point in time.
Thank you. Zach? Dr. Wells?
Well, last Friday, I was a part of a panel, and it focused on free lunch for all students in North Carolina. The fact that so many students, 1 out of 6, are hungry every day. And they're free lunch programs, but it's not for every child. And so some fall through the cracks because of their parents may make just enough to get by, but they're not poor enough to be a part of free lunch program. So there is a movement to push for free lunch for every child in North Carolina. On Friday night, the Turning Everything Around group is sponsoring a Pretty in Pink dinner. It's going to be at the New Zion Missionary Baptist Church, and it's going to be from 6 until 8. And they're celebrating those who have endured the impact of breast cancer diagnosis. So I'm supposed to be one of the honorees for that occasion. Now, we've talked about the conditions of the world, I guess. We're all shaken by what's happening in Israel, but I'm shaken by what's happening here in Greensboro. District 2 has the highest number of homicides, I think, in the city. And the number in our city of homicides keeps going up. And I'd like to ask the mayor and the council if it would be possible for us to set a date that we could ask for a day of prayer for peace to transform our city. I know there are others who everybody doesn't pray the same way. You may not have the same words, but we all realize that something needs to happen here in the city of Greensboro to make a change. So I don't know if could I make a motion? Or
Yeah, I
have
think that's what
comments?
Sharon was asking, if she could second your motion.
All right, so I would move that the mayor and council set a date for a day of prayer for peace to transform our city.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 9-0. It would be helpful to get a list from everybody, if we're doing for prayer, who in the religious community, how do we reach out? How do we make sure that all religions are well represented?
Religions, but we want all citizens at a certain
Yes.
time of the day to have that time of prayer.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Sharon?
So first, let me say, all the trouble that is going on in the world, sorry that it is occurring. You know, you watch television and you always think, well, that's happening over there, and it really doesn't affect me. But it has affected my colleague, and that's close to home. And so I don't know what words could possibly be said, because it doesn't take away her hurt and her pain. But know that I continue to pray for her family, and that this terrible tragedy gets over soon, that we do find peace across the world and peace here. Had an interesting conversation today with our news media. You know, they just want to do news, but they don't really understand the impact in our community that violence has. Yes, we're up to 60 homicides. Mayor, our highest number was actually 62.
But this time of year,
But
it's the highest.
we are trending toward that number if we continue. that's troubling. But we need our community to come together to find a solution. That's starting with our elementary schools, because we got to get our children early, then our middle schools and our high schools, because by the time they get there, it's probably too late. We had a presentation by Cone Health on yesterday, and one of the significant things they talked about that due to violence, the age at violence is 32, that they're losing their lives, and the average age is 32, which means they don't live long enough to do anything. Watch their children grow up or work a job and get retirement. They don't do anything. They die early. And so that dilemma is troubling, and District 1 may not have some of the height, but it has a lot of violence. And what Goldie didn't say is that the majority of those killed by gun violence are African Americans. And that's troubling in our community, because when one person dies, gets killed, 2 families are impacted. The one that got killed and the one that did the killing. And they generally are the innocent victims of the families of violence. And so the lady asked me, she said, well, how do you feel about that? And I said, but how would you feel? It's frustrating because I don't have an answer. It's disheartening because it impacts families. And I'm searching for the answer, but what is it? What makes a person pick up a gun and say that the only solution to the conflict is to take another person's life? And how do we change that? We can say economics all we want to, but if those individuals aren't accessible to those economic opportunities, then we're not making a difference. And that's what I think we seriously have to focus on. When I think about what happened at Dudley High School, Dudley's an innocent victim to a senseless, stupid, tragic act that took away my church member, a minister, a friend of Hughes. And so we won't see him anymore on Wednesday night. So I think we really need to focus on finding the best solutions that are out there, working together. It's not a law enforcement solution, but comprehensively we have to gather, all of us in the room at the table, to find this. Dudley has asked that we give them an update, some of the members over at Dudley, give them an update about the incident. And I want to say, too, that they're asking why is Crime Stoppers not involved. And I think that's something we need to focus on as well, because I think we really want to find out who did this, because I think it's important. And I know the mantra of, people don't say anything, snitches get stitches, but that's stupid. So if you know something, say something. But maybe Crime Stoppers will help.
Actually, we had a board meeting last week, and they've gotten several tips on that. So I'm certainly hopeful that that is going to be solved.
So if we can,
yes, they're working. They're working on it diligently.
Yeah, and let Dudley know that, because I think that's very critical.
Sure.
And they're having homecoming this week. We are going to do homecoming. It's going to be fun, but there is a cast overhead that we just want to make sure people are safe.
Mary Kay, can you say that Crime Stoppers number again?
Yes, Crime Stoppers. It's either P3 Tips on your smartphone,
or 336-373-1000, 336-373-1000.
Thank you. And hopefully, call in. You know something, say something, put a few dollars in your pocket. I also want to congratulate, on Sunday, the first inaugural Black Farmers Market was hosted by the county's MWBE office in partnership with East Greensboro Now. It was quite successful. Parking lot at the Hayes Taylor Y was overflowing. The farmers ran out of food, which is a good thing. Vegetables, and talked to somebody who was cooking some greens last night that she got from there. So, but that's something I think we need to do a lot more regular, that we can find space to maybe create that and work in partnership with the county on that particular piece. Because we talk about food insecurity, we talk about food deserts. And so this is one way. It's not a permanent solution. We still need grocery stores. And I think people are missing out on that. They think because they see a mobile mart, that solves the answer. It doesn't. It's temporary. Right. So we need to continue to advocate for that. And then the black farmers can sell their wares in the grocery store. That, I think, too, is something we need to look at economically. I also want to say congratulations to the Industries of the Blind on 90 years. They've been in business since 1933. They started with 6 employees. They've got 200.
And who is this?
Industries of the Blind on Eastgate City Boulevard. And so what Mary Kay mentioned is the story I shared is because my ex-in-laws are both blind. And they raised 5 children. They worked Industries of the Blind. They retired from there. They bought a home. They live just like you and I. Matter of fact, she's a better cook than I ever will be, and I can read a recipe, and she can't. And that just shows you the skills and the talents. That sometimes when you lose one sense, God enhances another. And so it's awesome. It was awesome to see them in action, and actually inspired me as well. And then finally, I think that was it. I got in Dudley, Crime Stoppers, Industry of the Blind. Okay, I think I got it in. And the 25th year, I haven't quite been inspired to eat broccoli just yet. But as soon as you cut it up and put it on my, yeah, you might. You'll have to disguise it with some cheddar cheese.
I do need Mary Kay to read a resolution, and then I do have some comments.
Madam Mayor, I would like to make the following motion. I move that effective November 29th, 2023, the City Council of the City of Greensboro award the city manager a merit increase, setting his new annualized salary at $322,052.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 9-0. Thank you. We talked about earlier in the meeting and as our council comments, the issues that we're having with homicides and the violence and unrest in the Middle East. It reminds me of a few years ago, Trinity AME, Darren Mitchell, pulled some people together. He pulled the survivors of homicides together and community partners and the religious group, and he gave a really inspirational message. But I remember one thing that sticks out in my mind is he talked about John 11:35, and that is the verse for Jesus wept. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately and how he would feel seeing what's going on in the Middle East and seeing what goes on in our country. And I believe that Jesus would weep. He would weep for all of the innocents. You know, the homicides here in Greensboro, I know, have all of us concerned. You know, we are not going to police our way out of it. It is going to take people like Darren Mitchell and the community members that were there to figure out what can we do to redirect. And largely, we are seeing the perpetrators get younger and younger, and the victims get younger and younger. And these are lives that are being snuffed out before they have the ability even to grow up. You know, people always say, what is council going to do about it? If we knew what to do about it, it would be done. You know, we work hand in glove with our police department. We work with neighborhood groups, but we really need to get neighborhood groups to come together and to help us send the message that what's going on is not acceptable. And, you know, I don't know how we do that. We have tried so many different things, but this, you know, this is a bigger problem than police or city council. This is really the breakdown of what we see going on across the entire country, not just in the city of Greensboro. We are hearing the same things
In the world,
all over
across
the place.
world.
But this is our little part of the world. And, you know, I don't know what we do to make it better. But we've got to, besides the day of prayer that Dr. Wells was talking about, we have to find a way to pull people together. And, you know, one of the saddest things I've heard recently was Mary Kay and I went out to Camp Hope, which is run by the Family Justice Center. And they made me feel like a rock star because they said I was mayor. You would have thought I was president. But all these kids coming up and talking to us, and one little boy pulled me aside and he said, "Are you over the police?" And I said, "No, but I know who is." And he said, "Can you get SROs in every school?" This was a middle schooler. Now, he had experienced immense trauma in his life, which is why he was at Camp Hope. But to hear a middle schooler come up and say, "We need an SRO in every school." We have to find ways to reach out to our middle schoolers and our high schoolers and make sure that they haven't given up on hope and that they realize that they can have a future, a new normal. And however we do that, however we can put our heads together to talk about this issue, I think we really need to do it. I have to say, I think our police department does a phenomenal job. I'm happy to hear that the next class is almost at capacity, which is a good thing. But I also said we're not going to police our way out of it. So while police are important, and right now they're working loads and loads of overtime, and people make bad decisions when they're fatigued, we need to grow the force. But we know it's more than just police. And we've got to bring these other people to the table and really start sending a message. And we've heard it time and time again, if you see something, say something. And I think that is something that we have to stress. You know, a few years ago, Sincere Davis was a senior at Page, ready to go to college, Guilford College, on a football scholarship. Somebody knows what happened to him. Somebody out there knows. His parents deserve to know who killed their son and who will be accountable for that. If somebody knows something, say something. We have to change that. And that's all I have this evening. Mr. City Manager?
Wow, It's hard to follow that, Mayor, but that was definitely very touching, and I think it's also a matching order for us here as to what we can do from the city manager's office, working with our partners. When I spoke with you earlier today, I felt that the issue of homicides and, of course, homelessness are two key things we have to deal with as a city, and so, but we know we can't do it alone, and so we're going to continue to reach out to our partners until we know that we can actually have the right traction on this. In November, our chiefs, together with Melanie, Director Melanie Jones, and also Letitia McNeil of Community Safety, will be coming to council at a work session, 2-hour session, to just talk to council and address these issues with regards to homicide and ideas that we have for moving forward. But I also want to say thank you for your confidence in me. I think it's really more of a confidence in this executive team that I'm proud to be part of, and supported by over 3,000 talented city staff. And I've said that in all my 30 years, I think that we have some of the best staff that I've ever had the pleasure of working with at the City of Greensboro. So I definitely look forward to a more productive 2024 working with you all. And I think that as we deal with all of these issues, we should also be mindful that we've got a lot of things we can be proud of as a city, and we can celebrate as well. And hopefully we'll continue to have more wins in the foreseeable future. But thank you for the confidence. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney?
I don't have anything tonight.
Thank you. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Zach. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes 9-0.